News screens display alarming global headlines about monsters and catastrophic events, sparking fear and confusion. Outside the school entrance, students gather as someone complains that the trending news is just exaggerated hype, comparing it to past zombie rumors. The crowd shifts their attention to the appearance of the popular girl, Shui Kingzi. Students gossip about her breakup with her boyfriend. One student claims the girl was just settling for him, as she got accepted into a top university while he failed to even enter an ordinary college. They agree their futures were never compatible. Another student tries to remember the boyfriend's name, saying it might have been Fang Yi. Suddenly, Fang Yi appears in front of Shui Kingzi. Shui Kingzi calmly states that she has made up her mind and believes their relationship is no longer realistic. She explains that high school love often ends with a moment of realization, suggesting they were never truly right for each other. She adds that a lasting relationship needs equal standing and courage. She firmly says they should break up and adds that even if he tried everything, it wouldn't change her decision. Fang Yi stays silent with a blank expression, while the crowd watches. Internally, Shui Kingzi wonders if he's so stunned that he can't respond. The crowd mocks Fang Yi silently, assuming he'll beg her to stay since she's the school flower. One student even calls him a fool dreaming beyond his league. Fang Yi casually responds with "all right" and brushes it off. Shui Kingzi is caught off guard and stares in disbelief. Fang Yi says he'll leave if there's nothing more to say. As he walks away, she calls out for him to wait, while wondering if his cold reaction is genuine or just an act. He looks back at her and calmly asks if she has anything else to say. She angrily warns him that no matter what he thinks or does, she will never return to him. He coldly tells her not to overestimate her importance, referring to her as just the school flower. Shui Kingzi stands speechless as Fang Yi brushes her off, saying he's too busy to continue the conversation. As he walks away, a few students express disbelief that the breakup happened so quickly and easily. Fang Yi reflects to himself that Shui Kingzi and the others have no idea about the disasters coming. He's no longer the person they once knew, he's someone who has returned from the future to this timeline. He knows that in the face of what's coming, society's standards, money, degrees, and reputation will become meaningless. To him now, Shui Kingzi is just a figure from a past life that no longer holds any value. He reflects that petty gossip no longer matters to him. What lies ahead is far more important. In his mind, the world and its values will soon be overturned. He knows that the real threat isn't personal relationships, but the crisis that will soon endanger all of humanity. The story flashes back to the previous night. Strange visions and shattered images surround Fang Yi as he receives a mysterious cosmic message. A countdown is revealed: 361 days until the beginning of the spiritual energy revival, which will bring unprecedented and unpredictable changes to the world. The message declares that society's standards will be overturned, and a new era of spiritual practitioners will rise, where power will become the only measure of worth. Fang Yi, startled, reaches out as the vision unfolds. He, floating in a glowing cosmic space, faces a light and asks who it is. Suddenly, a surge of light and energy flashes toward him, catching him off guard. The screen revealing that a system from the end of the universe has activated. It uses a supreme algorithm to generate spiritual techniques based on the spiritual beings the user touches. The screen states that Fang Yi currently possesses 0 techniques as he reaches toward the interface, absorbing the gravity of this new power. Fang Yi silently reaches toward the glowing system panel, activating it with curiosity. Suddenly, a massive beast with glowing red eyes lunges toward him, jaws wide open in a violent surge of energy. The creature appears to emerge from the system itself, surrounded by lightning and chaos as Fang Yi floats nearby in shock. His eyes widen as he realizes the danger in front of him. Fang Yi sees the fate he once shared with countless ordinary humans. Beads of sweat roll down his face as he processes the memory. He questions if that was truly him in his past life. He recalls how, in that previous life, he was just a powerless person swept up by the disaster, fighting only to survive. Fang Yi recalls the darkness of his past as lightning strikes and mutated beasts roam the city. He remembers watching his homeland collapse, powerless to stop the destruction. His past self died in despair, consumed by a burning desire for revenge at the moment of death. In that final moment, the fire in his eyes burned with hatred, reflecting the pain that still lingered within him. He believes the system chose him because of his strong desire for revenge, giving him the chance to return 1 year before the spiritual energy revival. He acknowledges that almost no one senses the coming danger, but he's now fully aware of what's approaching. He reaches toward the glowing core, determined. He resolves to use this year to turn every spiritual event into an advantage, as light bursts around him and the transformation begins. The system initiates a new assessment process, scanning Fang Yi as energy begins to surge within him. His eyes glow with golden light. The system declares that the user is now bound to it and a new path has opened. Everything in the world can now be used to forge spiritual techniques, making him a powerful practitioner meant to save humanity. Meanwhile, in the outside world, officials announce that humanity is facing an unprecedented crisis and must abandon past knowledge to adapt to the unknown challenges ahead. Fang Yi confirms that this moment marks the beginning. With others nearby, he notes how the authorities haven't reassured the public, only advising people to remain cautious and alert. A phone displays warning alerts with strange images. Fang Yi reflects that such open warnings are unusual. In the past, news like this would have been censored immediately. A quiet auditorium is shown as he explains that the Xia country uses calm, indirect methods to mentally prepare people for disaster without spreading panic. Fang Yi admits it's a tiring and slow approach, but far better than neighboring countries that respond with chaos, violence, or looting when disasters strike. Fang Yi remembers the system's rule: everything strange can become a source of power. So, he knows he must rush to the scene whenever something unusual happens. His eyes narrow as he checks his phone. A headline warns of the highest UV levels in a century at Qingcheng University, along with a heat wave alert for new students, disguised as a casual sun protection notice. Some students nearby dismiss it as media hype, joking that the university probably paid to trend, unaware of the deadly seriousness behind the warning. He looks up at the cloudy sky, noticing how different it seems from the weather warning reports just nearby. He checks his phone and sees the UV index at 0, questioning how Qingcheng University, only 15 minutes away, could be experiencing extreme UV levels. He reads a school announcement stating that registration will proceed as normal despite the intense heat, while online comments joke about the warning being fake or photoshopped. While the public dismisses it as a hoax, Fang Yi smiles subtly, knowing deep down that dangerous is beginning, and he's the only one who understands it. Fang Yi smiles confidently as he senses that his first real opportunity has finally come. The sun blazes unnaturally over Qingcheng University's north gate. He arrives calmly and realizing something is not right with the environment. As students flee from the unbearable heat, Fang Yi calmly observes the glowing particles floating around the campus gate and wonders what they are. He crouches down and reaches toward one of the flickering lights. As his finger touches the glowing orb, it pulses brightly with a surge of energy. A flash of light erupts, and Fang Yi is taken aback by the sudden reaction. The system detects a severe solar-type energy disturbance and immediately initiates the solar attribute data template. He screams in pain as the overwhelming energy surges through his body. A massive burst of radiant light explodes outward, illuminating the entire area with intense solar energy. Onlookers react in shock, some question if they're hallucinating. Others jokingly call it a Super Saiyan moment, while one compares it to a heavenly being descending to Earth. Fang Yi screams in agony as the solar energy floods through his body. He wonders if the formation is complete, feeling like he's about to die under the strain. Suddenly, the system confirms the formation is complete, and he has obtained the golden sun breathing technique. His transformation is complete. His hair turns white, his eyes glow gold, and his body radiates with powerful solar lightning. At Qingcheng University, the new student welcome day begins under a bright. A crowd forms around the registration area as students line up. One student offers to help a Shui Kingzi carry her luggage. As she draws attention, multiple boys rush over, offering guidance and club flyers, hoping to impress her. Calm, she politely declines with a firm, "Thanks, but no need." A group of students chat excitedly, happy to be in the same city. Shui Kingzi stands beside them, visibly uninterested, thinking they're completely love-struck. Suddenly, a massive explosion of light appears in the distance, drawing everyone's attention and stunning Shui Kingzi. A warning blares through the loudspeakers, advising students to stay away from the north gate due to an incident. With a serious expression, she realizes strange things have been happening everywhere and decides she must investigate it herself. At Qingcheng University's North Gate, amidst the swirling smoke and flames, Fang Yi appears. A system panel activates, explaining that by staring into the scorching sun and breathing in the burning heat, Fang Yi can perform golden sun breathing to strengthen his body. Without prior learning, a new skill is unlocked, and writing points are gained as golden energy continues to surge around his hands. Fang Yi looks at the system panel, which confirms that a new skill has been unlocked and 59 writing points have been gained. He questions what writing points are. After a brief pause, he decides it doesn't matter, thinking it's obviously something useful, and he'll figure out how to use it later. The sun shines brightly overhead as Fang Yi looks up. Nearby students begin to react to the strange phenomenon. One comments that the sky suddenly went dark, while another says they felt a chill in the air. Someone else calls out that a crowd is forming at the North Gate, and Shui Qingzi is seen among them. A large group of people gathers at the campus entrance. The president of Qingcheng University arrives with security and questions why so many people are present despite a warning message being sent out. He orders everyone to check in immediately, warning that those who don't will lose points. The hooded officer commands the team to re-establish the perimeter and fully seal off the North Gate area. The president acknowledges the order with a nod. A system notification appears, confirming that the contaminated zone level at Qingcheng University's North Gate has been purified. Fang Yi reads another message explaining that a contaminated zone is a government-designated area in Xia country where spirit return energy appears. He's surprised to learn it's officially recognized and realizes he's not the only one affected. A broadcast alerts everyone that all unrelated individuals must evacuate the sealed North Gate area immediately, prompting Fang Yi to stay cautious. As military personnel take control, someone questions if they are from the army, while others in the crowd express confusion about the situation. Fang Yi realizes the disturbance has become too large and their presence has attracted too much attention. Without hesitation, he launches himself into the sky, deciding it's time to leave the area. The hooded officer steps through the smoke. He kneels and touches the surface, picking up a small crystal fragment. He brings it to his eyes and inspects it carefully. He examines the crystal and states that the event was no accident, suggesting someone may have already begun resonating with spirit energy. As security orders the crowd to clear out, the officer continues observing the area while other staff try to assist with dispersal. Shui Qingzi overhears the mention of spirit energy and questions whether this disaster was truly unnatural, wondering if such terrifying events could really be caused by humans. Watching Fang Yi from a distance, Shui Qingzi recalls the shadow earlier and wonders if it was actually him. She doubts her earlier suspicion, telling herself not to be naive. She thinks there's no way Fang Yi, with his mediocre performance, could have entered Qingcheng University. In Fang Yi's house as the sun sets, lying on his bed, Fang Yi struggles with intense heat radiating from his body and wonders why it won't fade. Despite taking cold showers and using air conditioning, nothing helps. He is drenched in sweat and realizes that if this continues, he won't be able to sleep tonight. While wiping sweat from his face, Fang Yi worries that the chaos earlier might have exposed him. He quickly checks his phone and finds a top trending update from the Spirit Energy Practitioners Association about a new ranking system. Recognizing the name, he recalls the group as an obscure online community that occasionally posted spiritual training content, once thought to be pure fantasy. A flash of the cloaked figure from earlier comes to mind, and Fang Yi begins to suspect that the people he encountered at Qingcheng University may have been part of that same association. Fang Yi taps open on the announcement to view more details from the Spirit Energy Practitioners Association, revealing various ranks of spiritual cultivation. He notes that while the content sounds fantastical, the watermark proves it's genuine and officially released by the Xia Country Agency. He reflects that in his past life, he never encountered such information because he was just an ordinary person focused entirely on survival during the disasters. Realizing this might be an official signal for early awakeners, he sits on his bed and decides to resume practicing golden sun breathing as instructed. He closes his eyes and begins breathing steadily. As the heat builds within his body, he starts to sweat but stays concentrated. Flames of golden energy swirl around him as he levitates in his room. A narration explains step 1 of the process, strengthening the body into a vessel capable of absorbing the energy of heaven and earth. As if becoming a living weapon, he channels his spirit energy and concentrates intensely, commanding himself to shape it into the form of the divine axe as golden power explodes around him. As the energy condenses above him, Fang Yi wonders if this could truly be it. Then the system confirms his breakthrough to Ghost Axe 1-star rank. A new system appears, reminding him that he has 50 writing points available to convert knowledge into skills. He had forgotten about them, but now considers using them to boost his new cultivation rank even further. Fang Yi reflects on the system's explanation, questioning what it means to forcibly embed power into anything. Curious, he holds out his glowing hand and wonders if a random object like a mug would qualify as anything. A system window appears, asking if he wants to use a writing point to embed the sun attribute into the mug. As the mug glows, he realizes his guess was right. Smirking with satisfaction, Fang Yi confirms to himself that this new ability has limitless potential. He realizes that forcibly embedding attributes means granting objects supernatural powers. He wonders what would happen if he used this ability on a weapon like a sword or a gun, rather than a mug. He looks at a sword in his possession, understanding that a weapon crafted specifically for him with supernatural powers will be crucial in the future. Fang Yi stares at the sword in its case, planning to experiment with the system and test its effects before committing to forging a true weapon. Determined, he resolves to fully prepare for the coming threat of mutated beasts. Under the moonlit night, a large mutated beast approaches the building from the forest. The mutated beast crouches in the darkness, watching intently. Inside the room, the sound of coughing echoes repeatedly and moonlight spills through the window onto the bed. Fang Yi lies in bed, sweating and coughing as he shifts slightly and murmurs. Suddenly, he slowly opens his eyes. He sits at the edge of his bed with his feet touching the floor. He walks into the living room and stops, noticing something while moonlight floods the space. He focuses on a sound, thinking that ever since he entered Ghost Axe, his sense of hearing has become sharper than normal, making it easy to hear noises from nearby houses. Still lying on the couch, he continues hearing repeated coughing sounds and realizes something isn't right. Fang Yi peeks out his apartment door and hears coughing echoing from the corridor. He spots a beast with glowing red eyes and black feathers in the hallway and identifies the sound source. It's there. Recognizing it, he realizes the creature is a mutated rabbit beast affected by the mutation. He recalls that even with distant memories from his previous life, seeing this beast again still sends chills through him. Meanwhile, a helicopter with a spotlight approaches the city. A girl with long hair stands on a rooftop under the moonlight, stating that the rabbit who consumed the dark spirit fruit is still on the loose and that its speed is shockingly fast. She instructs to stay updated on any new developments while continuing to eat the lollipop. She leaps across rooftops, swiftly moving through the city. While midair, she suddenly senses something and turns her attention toward it. With force, she kicks off the building and accelerates toward the source. The girl reports that she has detected the beast's dark energy again, and that it fled 20 kilometers away to a residential area. She urges for immediate pursuit to protect the residents. She pushes off a building wall with force. While flipping through the sky, she warns others to be cautious. The beast has consumed a spirit fruit, and although its transformation isn't complete, it may still grow stronger. A man on the street looks up in surprise as a blur of light streaks across the night sky. Inside the Central Channel manga department, a man wonders if he's hallucinating from working too much. Another colleague scolds him, asking if he's done with the manga. He points out that they're on the 65th floor, shocked by what he's seeing outside, a figure leaping in front of the full moon. Meanwhile, the mutated beast charges toward Fang Yi, letting out a roar. Fang Yi's eye lights up with intense golden energy in response. He notes that ever since his breakthrough, his body has improved. He can clearly see the beast's slow movements, and his muscles react fast enough to dodge its attacks. Power gathers in his hand as golden energy crackles around it. He wonders if these terrifying mutated beasts are already appearing this early, as he charges forward with his energy ready to strike. He recalls from his past life that the beast hasn't fully transformed yet, but its current stage boosts its power and madness due to the dark energy. He prepares to strike, determined to stop it before the residents fall victim to its rampage. He He grabs the beast firmly, unleashing his power through his glowing hand. A loud crack echoes as he slams the beast down with full force. He pins the beast down and stays focused as golden energy surrounds him. He realizes the beast's weak point is its tail and prepares to strike. He launches himself upward, shattering the ground as the beast is thrown into the air. His eyes glow fiercely as he channels energy into his glowing fist. A powerful golden beam shoots upward, blasting the beast mid-air. The beast screams in pain as it's struck directly by the concentrated energy attack. The mutated beast attempts to absorb a powerful glowing energy ball as it faces Fang Yi. Fang Yi strikes the beast directly with the yang element energy, questioning if it dares absorb it. The intense solar energy floods the beast's body as it begins to lose control. Fang Yi declares that the sun's power is too majestic and that the beast is bringing about its own destruction. A massive explosion erupts from the energy clash. The man in bed reacts to the explosion, wondering if it was thunder. He looks out the window, puzzled, trying to see what caused the noise. Fang Yi lands outside the building surrounded by glowing energy fragments, observing that there's nothing left. He reflects that the creature had acted desperately, as if it was starving and trying to consume all the energy from his body. As golden energy fades from his feet, a red eye rolls near Fang Yi. He stomps the ground firmly, cracking it beneath him. Fang Yi thinks to himself that although the beast used the darkness element, its attacks were wild and reckless. The yang element inside him suppressed its energy, revealing just how desperately hungry it truly was. Fang Yi reflects that if he hadn't awakened, he would have been devoured like the others by the mutated beasts whose hunger had already begun to manifest. He knows that to survive future threats, he must gather more spirit energy techniques. Meanwhile, under the full moon, the girl descends from the sky. She lands forcefully in the forest. She steps forward and questions if the target is truly dead. Kneeling down, she confirms the corpse has been torn apart and decides to begin collecting the remaining dark element energy. As she reaches toward the ground, she suddenly reacts to something unexpected. The girl winces in shock from the heat, pulling her hand back and wondering how intense the temperature is. She realizes the heat is due to a high-level yang energy, one with a pure concentration, similar to what's detected at Qingcheng University, and suspects it's no coincidence. Raising her hand to her earpiece, she contacts HQ, confirming the rabbit is dead and explains she wasn't the one who killed it. A new pioneer did, someone possessing a high-grade elemental affinity. Someone at HQ asks if the person who purified the polluted zone at Qingcheng University's northern gate and killed the mutated rabbit is the same individual. Another confirms the person isn't listed in the HQ archives and remarks on the unusual talent of a pioneer with such pure elemental power. They insist the association must reach out to him immediately. The girl agrees, activating flames and energy in her hands as she prepares to store the sample. She seals the yang element energy carefully inside her cloak. HQ instructs her to postpone all other missions and focus entirely on tracking the new pioneer and gathering any information about him. They hope to persuade him to join the Spirit Energy Association. The girl calmly unwraps her lollipop. She acknowledges the command with a quiet "understood" as she places the lollipop in her mouth. Still chewing, she casually says that before anything else she just wants a cup of milk tea. Fang Yi wonders who this mysterious person is, recognizing that such overwhelming power must belong to a true expert. He silently vows to meet him no matter what it takes. Fang Yi stretches his arms wide in front of a large window as sunlight pours in. He states that the whole day's plan starts in the morning and acknowledges the dazzling sunlight. He removes his shirt, revealing a muscular physique, and mentions that waking up early helps with his cultivation. As he stands in the sunlight, glowing energy begins swirling around him while he activates the golden sun breathing technique, directing himself to feel the morning sun and operate the technique. Surrounded by radiant golden energy, Fang Yi explains that after entering the Ghost Axe realm, he can now sense the aura of the mountain masterpiece more clearly when using the golden sun breathing technique, which feels like threads circling the divine axe. A sudden explosion of light erupts as he realizes the breakthrough happened faster than expected, surprising him. Fang Yi clenches his glowing fist with determination, channeling the power through his arm as energy surges outward. Lifting the golden axe, he notes it feels much lighter than before. As he swings it, He reflects that cultivation is like chopping wood. What truly matters is persistence. He swings the golden axe downward with force as radiant energy shoots up through his body. He channels the power while standing firm, stating that his axe technique is becoming more refined and destructive. With golden eyes glowing, he senses his body becoming stronger, remarking that his physical toughness has increased. He reflects that although his progress seems fast, it's due to unused residual energy from his previous breakthrough to 1 star. Surrounded by golden flames, Fangi decides that from now on, he must level up gradually, 1 step at a time. As he glances at a package labeled authentic goods, he notes that the anomalies caused by his cultivation are too flashy and thinks he needs to find a quieter place. At the association office, an older man hears something and reacts with curiosity. Holding a phone, the man detects a solar energy fluctuation and immediately suspects Fang Yi as the source again. In a quiet mountain forest by a stream, Fang Yi sits cross-legged and activates a screen interface in front of him. When prompted to use code points to implant a yang attribute into an item, he confirms with a yes as golden energy wraps around him. He recalls a past attempt where he used a figurine as a weapon. The coding worked, but it couldn't handle the yang attribute's power. Now wielding a new blade, Fang Yi senses that not all props can be turned into weapons. But this one is different. He feels the blade and his body share the same origin and resonate together strongly. The screen confirms that the coding was successful. Surrounded by golden energy, Fang Yi praises the weapon and prepares to test its power with a strong swing. Shocked by the overwhelming force, he exclaims in surprise as a massive burst of light explodes from the weapon. Holding the glowing blade with a confident stance, Fang Yi unleashes a fiery arc of energy in a wide slash. Fang Yi unleashes a massive slash that nearly causes a wildfire, relieved that the situation didn't get worse. Seeing the smoke and destruction, he realizes it was too loud and he's probably already been noticed. He prepares to leave quickly. Meanwhile, the girl rushes toward the scene, frustrated and yelling repeatedly in anger. She complains that she only went to redeem a coupon and buy milk tea, but missed something important, blaming her bad luck on retrograde Mercury. The girl looks surprised and shouts in shock upon realizing something about a hot spring. As she rushes through swirling smoke, she questions what the Buddha statue just did and wonders how to handle the aftermath and where to report it. With teary eyes, she worries about getting scolded by the cleanup department again and complains that ever since they appeared, nothing good has happened. Suddenly, she's caught off guard as something hits her from behind. The girl is shocked and yells in disbelief, realizing that last night the aura was still 1-star ghost axe, but now it has advanced to 2-star and even carries the presence of a spirit weapon. A visual explanation describes spirit weapons as powerful tools infused with attributes, far beyond ordinary weapons. She notes that spirit weapons are extremely rare, with the association only possessing 2. She's confused how someone else could have one, especially since current tech is still incomplete and restricted from public use. After a pause, she nervously laughs it off, saying it must be a mistake on her part. Sitting by the stream, she prepares to cool it down and clean up the aftermath. Walking through the forest, Fang Yi reflects that his weapon has the yang attribute now, but the system never said it was limited to just one. Remembering the system's words, he notes that many techniques can be coded, and anything in the world can become coding material. He wonders if he can stack multiple attributes onto the same weapon. While checking his phone, Fang Yi receives a message from someone asking if he's a pioneer. The sender reveals they checked his browser history and saw he entered the realm after using a driver post. Fang Yi realizes he forgot to set his privacy settings. The conversation continues with the user saying their group has 3 members trying to connect with other pioneers. Fang Yi responds that he's a newbie too. They ask about his cultivation progress, mention how tough the body tempering divine axe is, and share a rumor about a national team player reaching that realm. Fang Yi replies that it sounds impressive. Fang Yi is surprised to learn that even official military recruits are still only at the Ghost Axe realm. He receives a message from IDUG-72 about a newly formed pollution zone and a suggestion to team up, offering safety and shared loot. Fang Yi is intrigued and questions the new zone. He asks for the location, and IDUG-72 sends a compressed data file titled Dark River Molten Dragon. Fang Yi begins extracting the file. The file explains that the pollution zone originated from a dark river altered by tectonic shifts, now turned into molten layer due to world mutation. Fang Yi notes its yang type attribute matches his and considers it a promising opportunity. Fang Yi sends a message confirming his participation in the team-up. In the Anhwa district, someone asks Old Lai when his friend will arrive. A group stands before a massive sealed entrance, with one member thanking Xiaoya for the detailed map and intel that helped him find the location easily. Another member expresses gratitude for the group's support and reminds everyone that once they're inside, they'll need to watch out for each other. Zhang Xiaoya, a staff member from the Ministry of Culture's Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association, laments that there don't seem to be any standout pioneers to recommend this time. A narration explains that most pioneers don't realize the association is a government agency, and becoming a formal member is extremely difficult, often requiring heavy connections and multiple tests. Zhang Xiaoya sighs, dreading overtime if the group doesn't discover anything. Just then, someone excitedly recognizes Fang Yi approaching. Fang Yi steps forward confidently and introduces himself to the group, saying it's nice to meet them all. She observes Fang Yi and guesses he's at Ghost Axe Realm 2-star. She finds his strong aura unusual, it's warm and not oppressive. The group stands ready at the cave entrance. Someone announces that since everyone's gathered, it's time to move out. Another responds with an okay. Inside the cave, Fang Yi takes the lead and tells Zhang Xiaoya to handle the light. She agrees, and the group begins their cautious descent. As they explore, one member warns Fang Yi to be careful of loose rocks. Another comments the heat isn't as intense as expected. They guess it's because they haven't reached the core of the pollution zone yet, and Fang Yi reminds everyone to prioritize safety and speak up if tired. Fang Yi reflects that although he arrived last, the group has already welcomed him warmly. He senses their friendliness is genuine, whether out of kindness or survival instinct. The team reaches a cavern filled with glowing molten lava. One of them exclaims in awe, realizing it really is lava. Fang Yi suddenly steps forward toward the lava without hesitation, alarming the group. Zhang Xiaoya warns him not to act recklessly with danger ahead. Ignoring their shouts, Fang Yi plunges a weapon into the lava. The others panic, yelling at him for being reckless and shouting to pull him back immediately. Flames erupt violently from the lava pit as Fang Yi makes contact, shocking the rest of the team. The system detects a world anomaly called Inner Flame and begins analyzing it while activating ultimate computing power to code the phenomenon. The analysis reveals that the Inner Flame has an extremely high internal temperature and explosive traits, making it incredibly destructive. The system then describes the Crimson Flame Blade technique when the blade is drawn. Each strike is surrounded by blazing flames and lightning, unleashing its full might. Fang Yi prepares his hand to activate the technique, surrounded by swirling fire energy. He declares that it perfectly complements his Tang blade and chooses to spend a serial point to embed the Inner Flame attribute into the weapon. The team watches in awe from a distance as Fang Yi rises safely from the lava. They notice his weapon is absorbing the layer's energy and confirm he's unharmed. As flames swirl around his newly enhanced blade, Fang Yi stands confidently. One of the team members praises his discovery, deciding to absorb energy during training too. Fang Yi notes that the spiritual energy has stabilized, and it's time to cultivate. Another teammate raises his arms, excitedly saying he can now absorb energy smoothly. A second person shares the same experience, saying with a bit more training, they'll officially enter the cultivation path. Zhang Xiaoya smiles and assures them not to worry about safety. She's only there to gather intel and will keep watch while they focus on their training. Everyone expresses gratitude to her. Suddenly, Zhang Xiaoya turns toward the cave entrance and notices new figures approaching. She warns the group that more pioneers are coming. A group of aggressive newcomers arrives. The red-haired leader mocks the others, calling them small fries, and declares the area his. Zhang Xiaoya looks back at her cultivating teammates and realizes all three enemies are at 1-star Ghost Axe Realm, concluding they can't risk provoking them. She politely responds that they found the location first and her friends have already started absorbing energy. She offers to share the space if they're willing to cultivate peacefully. The man mocking her strength and yelling at her to get lost. He threatens violence if they don't leave immediately. Zhang Xiaoya silently reflects that in this era of spiritual energy revival, The rule is survival of the fittest and the weak are left behind. Despite that, she reminds herself that as a member of the Xia Countries Association, she can't let this continue and must intervene. Just then, Fang Yi steps forward with a confident "heh," surprising her. Standing tall, Fang Yi confronts the red-haired man, accusing him of only knowing how to bully a girl. The man reacts with shock, shouting, "What?" Fang Yi unsheathes his flaming blade and strikes, sending out a powerful shockwave that pushes back the enemies, stunning everyone around. The man shouts for his group to fall back as Fang Yi's flaming attack blasts them into the air, overwhelming their defense. One of Fang Yi's teammates is startled by the sudden energy shockwave and asks what just happened. Fang Yi reflects that the tragedies in this world began because cultivators started worshipping the idea of the strong preying on the weak. But he concludes that such people aren't swayed by words or moral teachings, only power can stop them. Fang Yi unleashes another fiery slash, telling the enemy to get lost as the attack erupts with explosive force. The leader is stunned by the second explosion, panicking and questioning what kind of monster he's facing. Overwhelmed, the enemy group turns and flees in terror as Fang Yi calmly holds his sword. Fang Yi's teammates rush over in excitement, praising his insane power and saying that his sword slash looked incredibly cool. Fang Yi smiles and says the enemies crossed the line, but they've absorbed enough spiritual energy, so it's time to leave. As the group agrees and prepares to exit the spirit zone, they reflect on how destructive Fang Yi's attack could have been if it had fully landed. Watching him walk away, Zhang Xiaoya observes that he's clearly a top-tier pioneer with elite talent and a powerful attribute. Clenching her fist, she firmly decides that this event must be reported to the organization. At the Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association office, a woman reacts to a report and asks if another high-tier attribute pioneer has appeared. Zhang Xiaoya on the other end is shocked to hear the word "another." Caught off guard, the girl nervously denies anything suspicious while secretly confirming she recorded the event and should be contacted for any updates. She ends the call, saving the data, as instructed. Later, excited, she tells her teacher that they've found 2 high-tier pioneers back-to-back, but he dismisses it, saying it's not luck. Anyone with a high-tier attribute now holds value and will soon rise to power. The older man rubs his forehead, frustrated by recent developments, thinking it's all becoming too complicated and he wants to quit. Meanwhile, in town, Fang Yi walks in a hoodie and sword. Girls nearby admire his appearance, thinking he looks like a powerful character, making Fang Yi embarrassed. As he silently continues walking, others around admire him. A caption notes he's pretending to be a cosplayer to avoid attention. Suddenly, Fang Yi receives breaking news on his phone. The events from cultivation novels are starting to come true. Golden light in the east, a purple aura, and even a dragon sighting. Fang Yi realizes the anomaly was caused by his inner flame's power, which he underestimated at 2 degrees Celsius. He rules out Old Lai or Zhang Xiaoya leaking his traits. He thinks absorbing yang-type energy might let him break through if he uses the golden sun breathing technique again. Deciding not to delay, he heads toward the back mountain to continue cultivating. 5 minutes later, at the back mountain, Bai King stretches and celebrates completing her task. She's startled by a sudden powerful energy surge glowing in the distance and quickly senses it's coming from the mountain. The overwhelming aura spirals upward, signaling someone is breaking through to the 3-star Ghost Axe realm. Shocked by the scale of the energy, Bai King realizes this breakthrough is beyond monstrous and questions who could be behind it. Bai King slams her foot down, deciding she must immediately investigate the source of the massive energy surge. As she rushes forward with determination, she wonders if the one behind it could be that guy, though it seems too unlikely. Fang Yi raises his hands as spiritual energy begins forming above him, spinning rapidly in a spiral while lightning crackles in the background. He sits cross-legged, surrounded by intense golden flames, eyes glowing. His body is enveloped in a complex aura, and he maintains a focused hand seal. The golden energy condenses further, mixing with blue currents as it takes the shape of a glowing axe. Bai King watches from above, realizing that Fang Yi is trying to control a divine axe. She notes the difficulty of manipulating spiritual power so precisely and wonders if he secretly trained for several years without anyone knowing. Bai King recalls how she previously failed while breaking through, vomiting blood and collapsing under pressure. She stares at Fang Yi from her bed and questions if he's truly a monster born from thunder. She observes how the divine axe is filled with spiritual energy, and how Fang Yi controls it precisely. She notes that every movement of the aura looks like it could strike with immense force, and recognizes that someone like him isn't just a genius, he's a being summoned by the heavens. Meanwhile, how most cultivators would rush to finish after forming a core, but Fang Yi maintains sharp focus and sword-like intent. He compares Fang Yi's calm to that of a high-ranking cultivator. Bai King chases the divine axe's aura as it begins to move again. She yells that the divine axe has shifted toward the east. Fang Yi's eyes glow intensely with golden light. He rises into the air, fully wrapped in golden lightning as energy erupts around him. He successfully breaks through to the second star of the Ghost Axe realm. Bai King braces herself amid the crashing energy blasts, breathing heavily while standing within the storm of golden lightning. She is flung back by a massive energy surge as Fang Yi's divine axe unleashes a shockwave, engulfing the area in golden force. Catching her breath, Bai King wonders why she still can't get close even though only 30 seconds have passed. She realizes he may have already detected her presence and worries he might act against her next. Her eyes narrow with sudden realization. Looking up at a large, glowing tree bathed in sunlight, Bai King notes that the divine axe seems to have stopped and hasn't yet fully awakened. Fang Yi hides in the trees and watches Bai King, realizing she's the one who's been investigating him over the past few days. Bai King introduces herself as the captain of a field team from the Spirit Energy Association. She formally extends an invitation to Fang Yi on behalf of the organization. Fang Yi responds calmly, explaining that he's only been following her these past 2 days in hopes of joining the official association. He assures her that his actions weren't meant to leave a bad impression. He adds that while the association hasn't made a public announcement yet, all internal documentation is already formalized. Bai King wonders if he'll misunderstand her actions or think she's been bothering him. She focuses on staying calm. Fang Yi questions Bai King's reasoning. She tries to answer but hesitates, overwhelmed by his directness. She debates whether to be honest, unsure if revealing the truth would make things worse. He explains that he wanted to locate the Spirit Energy Association early to integrate with their system and correct misunderstandings about rogue cultivators, giving both sides more clarity. He acknowledges that despite their differences, they all must face the same threats ahead. Fang Yi admits that if he were her, he wouldn't trust someone like him easily either, and joining an organization without certainty feels like deception. Bai King remains silent, visibly affected by his honesty. Bai King pulls out her ID card and formally introduces herself as Su Mantang, an athlete from the Spirit Energy Association. She enthusiastically holds her badge up high, hoping Fang Yi recognizes her. She asks him to believe her, treating it like proof of her sincerity. Fang Yi examines her and mutters that her name does seem a bit familiar to him. Fang Yi realizes she had better conditions and training, which likely helped her become an elite runner. He acknowledges it explains her speed, but something still bothers him. Fang Yi looks serious, remembering that in his previous life, Su Mantang failed to fulfill her mission and humanity was ultimately wiped out. He recalls the destruction of the world and thinks that now that he's been reborn and granted a system, he must one day join their cause, but the time isn't right yet. Su Mantang smiles and says she really does recognize him, hoping it builds trust. Fang Yi quickly leaps away, telling her he'll consider the offer, leaving behind a trail of wind. Fang Yi reappears behind Su Mantang and tells her to temporarily keep his identity and actions a secret from others. Based on her conduct, he concludes that the Spirit Energy Association likely trusts her more than other scouts. He internally decides to make use of her abilities, believing she can serve his goals well. Su Mantang agrees to cooperate but says the association has already noticed the disturbance from his breakthrough and she must still report it eventually, perhaps in half a year. Fang Yi accepts the condition and calmly agrees. Su Mantang leaps through the forest, frustrated that Fang Yi slipped away again. She complains about always missing her chance and the tiring task of reporting back. She grumbles about cleaning up after others' messes, then tells herself to stop dwelling on it. Since she's already on assignment outside, she might as well finish it properly. Receiving a message through her earpiece, Su Mantang is shocked to hear that an abnormal has reappeared. She quickly asks if it's active again. She recalls the brutal monster pack responsible for past horrors. She vows never to forget them. Dark red creatures with twisted forms crawl through ruined cities, hunting, biting, and killing without reason. They target humans and spread chaos wherever they appear. The creatures are classified as abnormal beings by the Spirit Energy Association. Their actions vary in behavior, with some attacking randomly and others following complex strategies. If they're not eliminated early, they grow stronger by absorbing aura, becoming more destructive and difficult to handle. Lightning strikes violently in the middle of a heavy rainstorm, illuminating tall city buildings. Fang Yi steps into a puddle as rain pours heavily. Emergency warnings flash on electronic screens, announcing that the area has entered a dangerous state and civilians should evacuate immediately. Passers-by comment on how frequent these anomalies have become. Fang Yi looks up. He notes the intense lightning pressure in the atmosphere and realizes that the center of the storm is still moving. Fang Yi climbs a flight of stairs in the rain. He stops before a distant mountain struck by purple lightning and mutters that the signal is coming from there. Without hesitation, he leaps forward into the storm. He lands with speed, sprinting up the slope toward the mountain. He receives a system alert confirming the area ahead is contaminated. Target location, Jade Peak. Another display identifies Jade Peak as a 545-meter mountain and a notable landmark in the city. Fang Yi approaches through the misty, skeletal forest littered with bones. The system reports that the contamination level is currently unknown. Fang Yi continues forward without hesitation. Suddenly, Fang Yi's eyes sharpen as he senses something unusual nearby. A massive bolt of bright blue lightning strikes down in front of him. The meeting begins with a report showing a mountain struck by lightning. They explain that the spiritual energy levels are rising, and the danger level of Yuhuang Peak is increasing rapidly. A man in a suit says this is a serious situation. The original cleanup team was reassigned, so the emergency meeting was called. He then asks King Yin to continue the briefing. Bai King, in front of the council, explains that currently the peak is inaccessible due to explosive lightning-type spiritual energy. They had only rated it as an A-level pollution zone so far. Bai King adds that in 1 hour, it will reach a level that demands a new emergency classification. However, based on past data, no one in their district, including herself, has the ability to approach it safely. The officials review death rate estimates and conclude that even Ghost Axe Tier 3 elites have a 100% fatality rate if deployed into the contaminated zone. Another officer proposes immediate lockdown around Yuhuang Peak's base with 24-hour patrols to stop anyone from entering. A second officer agrees, stating the mountain must be sealed completely from the root of the danger. They finalize the decision. No one is allowed near the spirit turbulence until energy levels drop. The zone will remain locked for safety. Suddenly, lightning crashes into the mountain. Amid the rain and flashing light, Fang Yi appears in a hooded cloak, muttering to himself that he will reclaim his memory. Fang Yi stands amid the storm, but realizes it's not enough. To absorb the powerful spiritual energy, he must move deeper into the mountain's core. He reflects on the deadly nature of this energy and its origins. Even ordinary monsters are now strengthened, and the danger level is rising with distortions in space and time. Although he now controls Golden Sun breathing technique and Flame Blade, Fang Yi knows he still lacks the strength to fully wield these powers. Future enemies will be far more terrifying, and even cultivators might struggle against them. He prepares his weapons carefully, combining fire and blade traits to increase his attack power. However, he notes that overuse may also cause severe damage to his body. Only by pushing his limits can he survive what lies ahead. Fang Yi senses the immense lightning energy surrounding him and sees it as the perfect chance to further strengthen his body. He reflects that constant growth requires opportunities hidden within nature's extremes, and he must seize those moments no matter how dangerous. He understands that if he misses this chance, he can only wait for death under the heavens. As a bolt of lightning strikes down, his eyes glow intensely. Gripping his blade tightly, he braces himself for what's to come. As lightning strikes, Fang Yi braces for impact. He marvels at the overwhelming force crashing into him. As he channels his strength, sparks and energy swirl around him, while he clutches his weapon tighter. Caught in the center of the storm, he screams while absorbing the energy, enduring the painful surge through sheer willpower. Breathing heavily but still standing, Fang Yi grips his blade and steadies himself. Fang Yi stands firm, feeling the deadly lightning attribute in his sword. He senses that this force is like a punishment from the heavens. The pressure increases, forcing him to clench his fists and grit his teeth. He realizes that even nearing the lightning's core could crush him instantly. He looks up at the storm, wondering how he can make this wild power submit to him. Taking a deep breath, he calms himself. With a flash of determination, Fang Yi activates Golden Flame breathing at full force, shouting his command to unleash everything he has. Fang Yi charges upward with blazing force, clashing directly with the incoming lightning. Flames burst from his body as he strikes, combining fire and lightning in a single explosive leap toward the sky. Despite blood dripping from his mouth, Fang Yi doesn't falter. With full strength, he pushes forward into the heart of the storm, declaring that he will survive through death itself. He feels the powerful spiritual energy stir through his body, shaking his core and electrifying every cell with intense force. With glowing eyes, he declares that the storm wants him dead, but he refuses to yield. The lightning energy rages forward, expanding wildly as Fang Yi braces for the final clash. A notification appears. A massive surge of lightning energy is being detected and recorded. Meanwhile, people in the city watch the storm from a tower, shocked by the scale of the lightning strike. Fang Yi is engulfed in a massive explosion of lightning and fire. A system message confirms he has obtained Divine Thunder Tempering. Another system prompt appears. Heavenly Thunder drawn, body refined into divinity awarded 50 system points. Surrounded by radiant energy, Fang Yi floats above the mountain. As the inheritor of Divine Thunder, he now carries both lightning and fire attributes, and his presence begins to reshape the weather itself. Fang Yi declares that lightning is both his fangs and his shield. He feels its power flowing through him, enhancing both his offense and defense. He channels the lightning energy into his body and notes that even as it tests him, it does not cause pain. It offers both danger and opportunity. A system prompt appears, offering him the Pure Judgment Lightning ability, capable of delivering 300% damage to evil beings. It asks if he wants to spend system points to acquire it. Fang Yi wonders if he should embed this lightning energy into his blade. Though doing so could damage its structure, it may also break through its limits. Fang Yi considers the risk. If he injects too much lightning attribute, the weapon might not be able to withstand it. A system prompt asks if he wants to embed the lightning attribute into the object. He makes his decision, stating the energy should go into his right hand. Smiling slightly, Fang Yi confirms the command with a firm yes, ready to proceed. Lightning gathers in his hand as he prepares to absorb the power directly. In the next day, at the Yuhuang Peak, military personnel observe the aftermath of the spiritual storm. One officer reports that, unlike expected, someone had already entered the mountain before them. The officer, addressed as Major Han Lai, confirms that the person was a pioneer. Bai King is surprised to hear this and rushes forward to ask if the person survived. Kneeling on the ground, Bai King remains silent as the wind blows around her. She explains she can't sense his attributes or how long he's been gone. The violent lightning from yesterday has made it difficult to track him. Bai King learns the incident occurred around 6 or 7 a.m., with the person entering the mountain just before the team arrived. She's surprised and asks why they didn't detect him. The officer explains that the spiritual burst time matched their association's earlier predictions exactly 7 a.m., and the person might have entered before the data was finalized. Standing over the lightning-scorched peak, the officer says the pollution level was expected to reach his rank, but afterward, the spiritual density dropped drastically. He suspects the intruder may have lightning-based powers, which helped him absorb the energy. He concludes that the person not only survived but possibly used this event as a rare opportunity. The outcome was too precise to be a coincidence, and the person acted faster than their entire team. Bai King and the officer agree that someone capable of such power is dangerous. They question where this person truly stands, friend or threat. If he's a danger to society, they say, he must be found quickly, as his presence could lead to disaster greater than any anomaly. Meanwhile, Fang Yi wakes up casually in his home, rubbing his head while his sword rests beside him. Back at the command center, the officer declares that no matter the cost, the mysterious person must be located. He assigns a code name, Tyrant, Someone says they hope the association can recruit tyrants soon. They plan to seal the information and begin an investigation. One of them mentions that a high-level pioneer is trying to establish contact. Another orders Xiao Su to report to Major Han. Bai King looks surprised and says, "Eh?" The commander explains that the pioneer is the one who purified the anomaly at the A-rank pollution zone near Qingshan University. Bai King silently panics, thinking she can't let anything slip. She says she has tried to make contact recently, but the person's whereabouts are strange. She recalls finding a mutated rabbit beast's corpse and suspects the person has a Yang Flame attribute. She plans to get close to investigate how he purified the north gate of Qingcheng University. In her thoughts, Bai King panics, thinking she has already done her best by mixing truth with lies to make it believable and worries that saying nothing would backfire. The commander mutters Yang Flame attribute while thinking seriously. The commander thanks Xiao Su for her hard work and says they need young talents. Bai King salutes and replies that it's her duty and she will continue doing her best. The commander says they'll release false signals disguised as natural disasters and ends the discussion. He adds that he doesn't support posting spiritual energy info online due to risks. Bai King stays silent, and the older man beside the commander chuckles awkwardly. Bai King thinks it's finally over. In Fang Yi's home on a rainy night. Inside, Fang Yi activates the golden sun breathing technique while holding a glowing coat. The coat sparkles as Fang Yi lifts it, now completely dried and clean. Fang Yi puts on his coat and says he can clearly feel the difference after infusing it with the thunder attribute. He observes that his right hand has physically transformed, becoming the strongest part of his body with a muscle buff due to the thunder attribute. As his body glows with blue energy, Fang Yi feels he's on the verge of another upgrade. He notes that the thunder attribute, despite its domineering nature, has become tame and controllable after merging with him. He recalls the pain he felt when he first unlocked the Yang attribute while using the golden sun breathing technique. He wonders if the energy weakens after being absorbed. With both the Yang and thunder attributes coexisting, he becomes eager to test the results. He turns as his phone lights up, his hands still glowing with thunder energy. Looking at the alert, he wonders what happened again. He recalls setting notifications to special alerts after the last incident. The screen displays major news, and a message states that during times of upheaval, Xia country will issue immediate danger warnings to protect civilians. Fang Yi reflects that while these warnings are for safety, the opportunities within them are extremely tempting for pioneers like him, even if it means risking death and annihilation. He feels compelled to act. Fang Yi notices news about an explosion at a chemical plant with no reported casualties. He reads further that it caused pollution in the city and suspects there might be something more behind such a large event. He scrolls through online comments. Some describe a cold, evil aura near the site, others dismiss it, while a few mention it felt eerie, oppressive, and apocalyptic. Fang Yi thinks the cold and evil aura feels oddly familiar. Suddenly, he recalls a terrifying evil presence from his previous life and realizes it might be related to this incident. A creature with glowing red eyes tells someone not to move. More creature beings appear with glowing red eyes. Fang Yi wonders if these creatures are the same ones he remembers. He recalls that those things tend to appear during dark and shadowy hours. Originally, he thought it was just his imagination, but now he realizes they possess terrifying powers that surpass human perception, strength, and threat level. Fang Yi looks at his electrified hand and states this threat is far more dangerous than the mutated rabbit beast. He decides he must act tonight to stop them from spreading. Power surging around him, Fang Yi declares it's time to test his 300% critical hit in real combat. Meanwhile, agents are seen leaping through the city as they track the anomaly. One of the agents reports that the destroyer squad is tracking anomaly file No. 2 but has temporarily lost the target. The current threat can merge with darkness and conceal its form. One of the agents reports that the creature emits a faint sizzling sound when close and has a tendency to eat humans. He requests assistance in updating the anomaly file. As lightning strikes in the background, another agent notes that with this weather, the creature is definitely going out to hunt. An agent in a hood says they can't allow this to happen. Meanwhile, a staff member confirms submission of supplemental data for File 7, Candle Night. Inside the control room, an officer announces that the extermination request has been submitted as Priority B, with a resolution expected within 12 hours. A command is given to the destroyer squad to continue pursuit but prioritize their safety above all else. One squad member acknowledges the order, responding with "understood" as they descend through the rain. Observing the situation, another member reflects that 12 hours isn't fast, but it's the best headquarters can do. He notes that with anomalies reviving everywhere across Xia country, even headquarters struggles to keep up. A warning comes from the control room stating that the area being approached contains Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association agents. Bai King System confirms that team leader Dong Su Qingying is conducting pioneer observation there and can be temporarily notified for support. As the agents fly through the rain, one requests Su Qingying's quick assistance, saying he's heard of her achievements. She wonders when she became so famous. Su Qingying arrives on a rooftop and confidently asks if they're the ones calling her in for overtime. A member of the squad informs Su Qingying that the Candle Night anomaly eats people, saying this mission isn't just about overtime. She questions if that's really the tone they use when asking for help. Su Qingying sarcastically notes that the destroyer squad seems so elite that they don't need help, and says her Ying squad will leave. One of her members nervously wonders what will happen if someone gets eaten, to which another replies that it's their problem, as their missions are also dangerous. A man from the destroyer squad urgently calls out, asking them to wait. He admits his earlier tone was too harsh and politely asks for help in tracking the anomaly. He explains that without their tracking and locating skills, the dangerous Candle Night anomaly could wipe out the entire city. Even if the squad gets eaten, civilians would still be at risk. Cloak's squad stands on a rooftop overlooking the city in the rain. One of them detects something and announces they've found it. The portal unleashes a strange force, spiraling down into the city. A creature with red eyes emerges in the shadows. File number 7 Candle Night likes darkness, dampness, eating people. The squad receives the command. The man confirms, Destruction Squad, begin operation. As they prepare to engage, the monster Candle Night stirs, its glowing red eyes fixate on the squad's direction. Candle Night leaps from its position with explosive speed. One of the squad members shouts that the target has detected them and commands the squad to deploy formation. The monster Candle Night lunges forward, but members of the squad dash in from multiple directions. One shouts east, others respond in unison, surrounding the target from all sides with precise coordination. The squad yells in unison, as they close in on the monster with intensity. As the team positions themselves, Candle Night lets out a roar, and one squad member rises from the shadows to kill it. The strike hit hard at the monster, as he lets out a sharp squeal and pounces in response. Then, the monster swipes through debris, showing its physical power. Its eyes glow red as it snarls in rage. With a furious roar, Candle Night spins into a vortex of energy, launching into a terrifying spiral attack. Bai King warns the squad to dodge quickly, shouting that a soundwave attack is incoming. A spiraling shockwave tears through the battlefield, sending squad members flying as the vortex smashes the surroundings. Bai King checks on their leader, asking if he's okay. The captain, bleeding from his arm, admits that if he hadn't backed off in time, the impact would have shattered his bones. He warns that with its dark attributes and destructive force, Candle Night will cause catastrophe if it stays in the city. Candle Night's body glows green as it channels corrosive dark energy. A massive green shockwave erupts beneath the creature as it unleashes its power into the ground. The monster starts digging rapidly, melting through the earth with corrosive breath in an attempt to escape. Bai King shouts that it's trying to burrow underground. Another warns that its dark attribute corrodes anything it touches instantly, and they lack a high tier counter attribute to stop it. A squad member explains that while Candle Night can corrode the ground, it can't tunnel out instantly. He urges the team not to break formation, reminding them their role is intel and tactical support. Another soldier shouts for everyone to stay alert. Suddenly, glowing red eyes emerge from the darkness. Candle Night bursts out violently and strikes, knocking a squad member into the air with a fierce blow. The leader yells for everyone to chase the monster before it escapes. As they follow the green energy trail, a surge in spiritual energy is detected. Reaching a rooftop, one member notices the spike and commands the others to wait outside, while they follow the target in. Inside an abandoned factory, the lead scout prepares to scan for spiritual energy readings before proceeding. The leader asks if the device on the Bi-King wrist is the new auxiliary tool from the association. She confirms and explains that the average squad can handle anomaly levels up to 50. The creature they chased was just below that at 48. Suddenly, the watch spikes to 80 and continues rising, shocking them. She realizes there's more than one anomaly present. As the group enters the factory, a dark serpent looms above. They both turn in alarm as a loud crash behind them confirms they're not alone. Another threat has arrived. Bi-King realizes they were tricked. Candle Knight lured them in to trap them with another anomaly. She tells the group they must retreat immediately. The leader suggests heading to the door. If the anomaly wants to stop them, it will have to reveal itself. Together, they fire an attack to force the door open. As they run, Bi-King is struck by something and collapses, gasping in pain. She realizes her senses and body are being overtaken by the poison gas as a dark creature looms in the mist. She calls out to the others but gets no reply. Alone in the mist-filled factory, she suspects they're nearby but unable to respond. Holding her communicator, she pieces it together. Candle Knight lured them in, but the poisonous place belongs to another anomaly, likely a giant serpent. The serpent's face emerges from the toxic fog. She realizes that unlike Candle Knight's dark powers, this mist is poisonous and began affecting them the moment they entered. The gas not only paralyzes senses but drains spiritual energy rapidly. She knows if she tries to attack now, her energy will run out. She's already close to collapse. Lying on the ground, she questions what kind of anomaly could possess such intelligence and overwhelming power. It feels like they're being toyed with. Her body collapses completely. A faint light breaks through the ceiling above, but she's too weak to move. As her eye barely opens, struggling to stay conscious as she senses something approaching. Fang Yi crashes down from above, descending with confidence. He lands firmly on the ground, cracking the floor beneath him with sheer impact. Standing tall, he faces the looming serpent and confirms it's a dark attribute anomaly, unfazed and fully in control. The black serpent lunges with jaws wide open, aiming to devour the intruder. He dodges swiftly, but a second creature, Candle Knight, crashes into him from above. He's forced back, growling in frustration as both enemies close in. Realizing the truth mid-battle, he confirms there are two anomalies working together. He smirks, realizing one anomaly lures while the other harvests. He mocks Candle Knight, biting him, saying it must enjoy it too much. Power surges through him as he activates thunder energy. He slashes through the serpent, burning its body with a blazing attack enhanced by thunder. With lightning crackling, he turns to the next enemy and challenges it to handle fire next. The black serpent opens its mouth wide, revealing sharp fangs as green liquid drips from its eye. Fang Yi swings his glowing golden weapon in a fast motion toward the black serpent. He tells the serpent to focus on the blade. The black serpent coils its massive body, facing the glowing attack ahead. Fang Yi strikes down the black serpent's head with his glowing blade. He lands and faces the black serpent as it looms forward. Fang Yi notices something unusual, then sees the black serpent's mouth glowing green. Observing the serpent's attack, Fang Yi notes that it had a follow-up move as expected. The black serpent's head is struck by a surge of blue lightning, causing it to react in shock. The serpent roars as the lightning spreads violently through its body. Fang Yi notes that sensing the attack in advance was fortunate, as the serpent's dark aura is more dangerous than Candle Knight's. He explains that while wielding the Tang sword and using the power of infernal flame, he controlled and retracted the force, then used the sword to channel thunderbolt power into the serpent's body. He explains that while Candle Knight is fierce, its power is weak and can only harm a few humans, but the black serpent is different. He notices purple marks on his arm and identifies them as snake scales. Fang Yi realizes the black serpent is a cunning mutated species with improved intelligence, capable of deadly sneak attacks. He notes its poison has a built-in paralyzing effect that kills silently without leaving a trace. He looks at the mark closely, revealing a cut on his skin. Fang Yi feels a sharp pain, but notes it must be due to the circulating golden sun breathing technique in his body. He explains that the yang flame attribute can dissolve poison, while the golden sun breathing technique protects, heals, and purifies, giving him a clear pain response to warn of incoming poison attacks. Fang Yi thinks that for others without his defenses, the poison could be incurable, and observes that the serpent likely relies on ambush tactics to grow to its size, being around 3-star ghost axe rank. He adds that with Candle Knight as its partner, it becomes the perfect trap for elite pioneers, and it has likely devoured many people who never reached the association. The black serpent burns away, leaving only its skeleton as Fang Yi notes that no matter how dangerous it was, its end is ash and dust. He reflects that while the infernal flame was strong, the thunder attribute's triple critical hit was the highlight, making his combat ability decent among pioneers. Fang Yi stands silently in front of the blazing flames. He walks away, leaving the fire burning behind him. Fang Yi senses that someone is still present near the flames. He approaches as coughing is heard through the smoke. Bai King appears, staying silent. Fang Yi recognizes her as someone from the association, recalling her name starts with Su, while another person tells her there's no need to pretend. Fang Yi tells Bai King that her act of playing dead needs improvement. She realizes it really was him earlier and claims she woke up from the smell, not pretending. Fang Yi points out that she's strong, as she still had enough energy to shield herself when her teammates had passed out, and she wouldn't have noticed the smell of blood or burnt flesh otherwise. She awkwardly thanks him for the compliment. She admits she kept a bit of spiritual energy to protect herself, but wonders how he managed to defeat both Candle Knight and the giant serpent. Fang Yi tells Bai King she doesn't need to keep covering her eyes, only to promise to be honest and not reveal his identity. He notes it's getting late and, since she and her teammates are safe, he'll leave first. She thinks he's more friendly than before. She calls out for him to wait. Fang Yi declines, saying too many words spoil things, and leaves the scene to her. Fang Yi leaps away from the scene. He's relieved the white-haired girl didn't see him trying to absorb the dark attribute earlier, finding the discomfort and eerie coldness disgusting. He considers that the dark spiritual energy might have been disturbed, causing his body to reject it, and notes the system didn't respond, deciding to review it later at home. Bai King laments not getting a good look at his face, realizing he still hasn't let his guard down around the association. She tells Commander to wake up, saying it's over. Commander slowly regains consciousness. He exclaims that they were ambushed, while she remains silent. Both are surprised as they stand near the black serpent's massive burned skeleton. The group sees the serpent's remains and questions the overwhelming yang attribute, as Bai King explains that a pioneer came to help them. She thinks it should be the target of her mission, which was to track a high-level yang attribute pioneer. She admits she hasn't identified him yet and was instead counter-tracked, as others are amazed someone could defeat both Candle Knight and the giant serpent alone. The commander asks about Candle Knight's corpse and suggests cleaning up the scene and submitting the remains to the association. He uses green energy to examine the remains, but suddenly steps on a spot emitting a blue electric charge. He reacts to the violent energy as Captain Su watches. Bai King asks Captain Su if the target was yang attribute, noting the residual electrical charge is far too intense. Captain Su examines the body, confirming the thunder attribute is pure and high tier, and wonders if two high-level pioneers worked together to kill both the Black Serpent and Candle Knight. Captain Su realizes only one person appeared and thinks no one would believe a single person carried two extreme high-level attributes. She notes that just having one of them would make someone a top-tier genius. She calls it a dual high-tier attribute pioneer, something nearly unheard of, identifying one as the young Flame Walker. She identifies the other as the Thunder Tyrant. Fang Yi stands surrounded by lightning, holding a fiery weapon, while someone questions what kind of person he is. He thinks about how it was a good decision to have his team stationed outside the factory, knowing they would report to the association if he stayed inside too long. Bai King is hugged by two people who express relief that she is alive and say they thought they had lost her forever, wondering what they would have done if she had died. An association member examines a digital screen, with their task now focused on scanning residual spiritual energy, analyzing traces. Association reconnaissance personnel scan the ground for traces and report the outcome to the association. A member explains to both captains that based on trace comparisons, whether from combat habits or kill patterns, all evidence points to a single person responsible for killing both anomalies. Captain Su states there is a 99% probability it's the same individual. One man remarks that it really is a dual high-tier attribute pioneer, admitting he thought they had made a mistake. Captain Su agrees, noting either of the anomalies alone could have wiped them out, and another adds that this powerhouse defeated them in a single strike. Even though they are all in the Ghost Axe realm, the power gap is enormous. Bai King says her surveillance target has appeared, the data has been updated, and she needs to report to the higher-ups. She reports that both Tyrant and the North Gate of Qingcheng University were her assigned targets. A man on the phone responds that he understands the situation and tells Xiao Su to pause her mission for now. She hears that since the target saved her, eliminated the anomalies, and secured the area, it means he doesn't resent the association and isn't their enemy. However, for her safety and to make a good impression on him, she should avoid contacting him for now, even though Old Han disagrees with this view. She says she has one theory about something that happened before, when Tyrant was about to advance at the back mountain. The man on the phone asks what it is. Bai King explains that she once sensed an incredibly strong aura in the area where he was active and suspected he might have a spiritual weapon, though she thought it was unlikely. But now that it's confirmed he is a dual high-tier attribute pioneer, she believes otherwise. The man asks in surprise if he has a spiritual weapon. The man says it's unlikely for someone, no matter how gifted, to possess a spiritual weapon without outside help or resources. He adds that the reconnaissance team found no traces of a third spiritual energy attribute usually linked to a spiritual weapon. Bai King explains that when she came into contact, the spiritual weapon aura she sensed was of the yang attribute. The man understands, saying that if the weapon's attribute comes directly from his own yang energy, then if he is a spirit creation realm cultivator, it is theoretically possible for him to create it on his own. Bai King reacts with surprise, noting that spirit creation realm cultivators are extremely rare worldwide, with barely more than 2 known. She adds that if this person possesses a third attribute, it would completely shift the balance and shake the entire pioneer community. The man explains that research shows different attributes clash within the human body, making it nearly impossible for them to coexist, and so far no pioneer has ever been confirmed to possess 3 different spiritual attributes. He says that if the person truly has a spiritual weapon, the absence of a detected third attribute might actually be good. He hopes such a powerful pioneer never becomes humanity's enemy. Meanwhile, the man believed to be the subject showers quietly. Fangyi notes that there's less than a year until the official spiritual energy revival, yet anomalies and phenomena are already erupting everywhere, becoming highly active. He mentions that many pioneers, including himself, have started cultivating on their own. He explains that once the interface between the body and the spiritual world is opened, people become more sensitive to changes in heaven and earth, like those in the underground river before. He adds that even without Xia country's official recognition, self-trained pioneers have generally reached the level of 1-star ghost penetration realm. He notes that with Xia country reaching out to wild pioneers like him, it shows that both official and wild pioneers are in a relatively peaceful phase of mutual exploration. Anomalies remain within controllable limits, and there is no serious conflict among pioneers yet. As he dresses, he reflects that although the government has established the Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association, it has not gone public. People everywhere are discussing local instability and unexplained phenomena, showing the government's attempt to both protect humanity and issue early warnings. He points out that the problem lies in the government's lack of confidence in launching a full-scale cultivation era. Fang Yi reflects that with such a large population, if information goes public before full collapse, internal unrest will cause chaos and death. Even recognized pioneers can't yet stabilize societal upheaval, and both internal and external threats will only hasten the collapse. He thinks the government's cautious approach isn't wrong, as human hearts are more dangerous than ghosts or gods. However, what worries him is that anomalies are developing faster than he expected. He recalls that what he encountered today was a typical mutated product of dark attribute contamination. From touching the black mist, he could tell it belonged to a sub-branch of the dark attribute known as the shadow attribute, a natural enemy to pioneers. These anomalies are more intelligent than typical exotic beasts, do not rely solely on instincts, and see pioneer bodies as valuable resources. They may even work together to trap and kill pioneers. Fang Yi notes that while these anomalies are not yet at the same level as the true dark type anomalies he has seen before, a single one of those could destroy a country or even a continent. Fang Yi notes that if he hadn't tracked them today, the squad and the one trying to recruit him might not have survived. He reflects that even as a sub-attribute, dark attribute powers are extremely dangerous. If it's labeled temporarily unabsorbable, it means he might eventually be able to absorb it once conditions are met, possibly turning the tide. He now possesses the Golden Sun burning technique of the Yang attribute, the Divine Thunder technique of the Thunder attribute, and the Crimson Flame Blade technique, a sub-attribute of Yang. These high-tier attributes are paired with techniques that perfectly suit him, and with his current strength as a 3-star Ghost Axe realm, there are very few pioneers who can rival him. However, he admits it is still not enough. Fang Yi's phone rings, and he notices the caller ID. Surprised, he answers, realizing it's his aunt, and wonders why she called so suddenly. His aunt asks how his health has been lately and explains that his cousin will be studying near him. She says she doesn't feel safe letting her stay alone in a hotel and asks if she can stay at his place for a few days. Fang Yi reacts with surprise, repeating the word cousin as he visualizes her. Fang Yi recalls that the only thing he remembers about his cousin is that she was a student obsessed with studying, and he doesn't even remember what she looks like. He tells his aunt to just have her come over since there's a spare room at his place, asking when she will arrive. His aunt says she'll give her the address so she can come over by herself. His aunt mentions that his cousin will bring him some specialty snacks. Fang Yi thanks her and says he won't hold back. She adds that his cousin should arrive by tomorrow afternoon and apologizes for the trouble. He replies that it's no trouble and says he has something to do, so he'll hang up. Somewhere else, a person in a hooded outfit is at a computer, reading and replying to messages about the Spiritual Energy Revival Martial Arts Vanguard team. The person in the hood ends a conversation with a message telling their aunt to take care and visit next time. They look at an online article with the headline, Rumor Alert, Internet Famous Town Renamed Death Town, 3 more vanish, still accepting Pork Beast Challenge. They read the location name Yonghuo Town aloud. Someone at the door asks if they have finished packing, surprising the person at the computer. The girl says she's packed but doesn't want to bother her cousin, preferring to stay at a hotel. Her guardian insists it's safer to stay with her cousin and says she trusts him. The guardian reminds her not to cause trouble while staying there and to help out around the house when possible. The girl agrees. Wearing her hood and mask, the girl leaves through the door. She thinks to herself that she will handle one hurdle at a time and that no matter what her cousin is like, he won't be harder to deal with than an anomaly. The sun shines over the city as people walk through the streets. The girl walks with her suitcase towards her destination. She checks her phone, which shows she has arrived at her destination. Looking up, she confirms to herself that this should be the place.
This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, then don't forget to subscribe and like the video.
He entered the house, surprised to see someone waiting for him. The girl called out hesitantly, asking if he was her cousin. He stared at her, realizing he couldn't recognize her face, and asked if she was Lin Yiji. She quietly confirmed, keeping her composure. Later, the two sat together in the living room. He told her that if she ever needed anything, she could simply call him. She politely thanked him, addressing him as cousin, while the silence between them lingered. He handed her a spare key, mentioning that her room was just across the hall. She politely thanked him and apologized for troubling him during these few days. As he left, she thought to herself that her cousin seemed easy to get along with and wouldn't pry into her matters. However, he quietly observed her, sensing something unusual. He wondered if it was just his perception, or if she wasn't hiding her presence properly. Earlier, when she sat on the couch, he had faintly felt an unfamiliar trace of spiritual energy. The thought struck him, could she already be a pioneer too? As he watched, her body emitted a glowing aura of energy, making him question whether her excuse about coming for summer camp was actually hiding a deeper reason. She checked her device, receiving messages about cultivation techniques and the importance of keeping her spiritual energy hidden. Deciding it was too risky, she told herself not to cultivate for now, since being caught by her cousin would be difficult to explain. 3 days later, she realized that living with him actually disrupted her training. Meditation and breathing techniques were constantly interrupted, making cultivation harder than expected. Meanwhile, he sat cross-legged, practicing the golden sun breathing technique. Radiant light flared around him, brighter than he anticipated. Concern crossed his mind, such a flashy technique might easily draw attention. She called him for dinner, serving tomato beef stew, cold cucumber salad, and corn rib soup. He noted how polite and considerate she was, even insisting on handling the chores herself. Despite her flawless etiquette and diligent behavior, he couldn't shake off his suspicions. While eating, he observed quietly, deciding not to interfere. Allowing her to continue this way, he thought, was also a method of making her lower her guard. He quietly thought to himself that only by observing her longer could he uncover the truth about her identity. She continued eating calmly until her phone suddenly lit up, breaking the silence. Startled, she glanced at it, but before she could react further, he leaned in, his sharp gaze fixed on her. With suspicion in his voice, he asked if it was a friend calling her, leaving her momentarily stunned. He excused himself from the table, telling her to continue and that he would return to his room. Once he left, she quietly answered her call, her expression turning serious. On the other end, someone mentioned another major world shift happening the next day. She asked for the time and confirmed she would be there by 3 p.m., arranging to meet at the entrance of Yonghuo town. Outside, he listened in, realizing the location was just an hour's drive away, a trendy suburban area, and clearly tied to her hidden agenda. As he watched from a distance, he confirmed his suspicion his cousin was also a pioneer. She sat in meditation, spiritual energy swirling around her, yet with her current strength, she couldn't sense his presence. He noted her talent was impressive, already reaching the 2-star Ghost Axe realm while still in high school, and perhaps capable of advancing even further. He wondered if her unusual personality was tied to such extraordinary talent. Finally, he realized the truth. The summer camp had been nothing more than a cover. The real reason she came was because of the upcoming world shift, something she must have already known about and used as an excuse to be there. He reflected that every world shift was both a danger and an opportunity, a chance to gain new techniques and strengthen his power. This time, he wondered what kind of attribute would emerge in Yonghuo Town. Determined, he decided it didn't matter what it was, whatever appeared would belong to him. With resolve, he launched forward at full speed, heading straight for the town. Meanwhile, his cousin continued her meditation, but something felt off. A faint sense of strangeness lingered in her heart, as though she had overlooked something important. That night, she wondered if it was only her imagination or if someone had truly been watching her. The next day, the scene shifted to Yonghuo Town, a bustling place beneath the mountains. As she walked through the entrance, she was greeted by a cheerful friend calling out her name. Her friend teased her about staying at her cousin's house, asking if he was attractive. She brushed it off, her calm expression showing little reaction, even as the teasing continued. When her friend pressed further about her cousin's looks, she simply replied that he was a nice guy but looked plain and average, definitely not the flashy influencer type. Her friend sighed in disappointment, while another woman chuckled at the exchange. The red-haired woman reminded them that Yi herself once claimed to be just an ordinary person among the masses, though her presence suggested otherwise. Soon after, as the group gathered together, one of them spoke up, saying that since everyone had arrived, it was time to get to the main point. The group gathered in town, noting that one member hadn't shown up again. With only 6 of them present, they decided to move forward, commenting that her mysterious behavior was nothing new. Watching from a distance, he observed them carefully from a balcony. Dressed in a new outfit, he thought to himself that his cousin's team seemed rather low-key compared to what he had expected. He assessed the group carefully, noting that even the weakest among them had already reached the 2-star Ghost Axe realm, while the man who spoke earlier was at 3-star. From their words, it seemed there was also another powerful member who rarely appeared. Sitting calmly with his drink, he shifted his gaze toward the mountain above Yonghuo Town. His sharp eyes caught sight of a phenomenon, an enormous vine descending from the sky, signaling the beginning of the world shift. The massive vine stretched from the heavens down into the earth, towering over the mountains of Yonghuo Town. Its sudden appearance defied all previously known information about world shifts, making it difficult to comprehend. Observers were left stunned, acknowledging it was indeed a world shift, though uncertain whether it would lead to total collapse. The red-haired woman stared in disbelief, whispering that she wouldn't have believed it if she hadn't seen it with her own eyes. Everyone present felt the overwhelming presence of the vine, realizing they were witnessing something extraordinary and far beyond their expectations. As they approached the massive vine, one of the girls hesitated, urging the group not to go any further. Yi questioned her, asking why, and the girl admitted that after seeing it up close, her whole body felt cold, as if something was terribly wrong. Another mentioned the rumors circulating on the internal forums. A red-haired woman listened closely as the girl explained that she knew someone from a team who had tried to make contact with the vine during its last appearance. Those people weren't weak, they were far stronger than her, real pioneers, and not low-level by any means. The implication left the group uneasy, the danger of the vine suddenly feeling much more real. They pressed forward and found the area littered with bones entangled in the roots of the massive vine. It was clear that others had come here before them, but none had returned. The frightened girl clutched her head, trembling as she said she could feel it, they would meet the same fate as those who vanished. Her words painted a grim picture, imagining that not even their bones would be left to bury. The group stood on the eerie red ground beneath the vine, the atmosphere heavy with dread as the truth of the danger set in. He thought he could take on the pioneer's gamble and either succeed or die trying, but the sight of the anomaly filled him with instinctive fear. His intuition warned that this was no ordinary threat, it was a powerful, high-level mutation unlike anything seen before. Overwhelmed, he admitted he wasn't ready to lose everything here and wanted to retreat. The others remained silent at first, then agreed. They too had felt the same unease. One explained the reason the vine carried a desolate aura, as if all life within it had perished with time. That was why it made them feel so deeply unsettled. She tried to stop the hesitation, reminding that fear had no place here. With determination, she declared this was the true path of martial pioneers. The group felt the suffocating death energy radiating from the massive vine, its presence overwhelming. Watching from above, he noted that among all anomalies he had encountered, this vine felt the most unpleasant. Yet, he acknowledged their decision to cultivate here as an act of real courage. They noted the strange contradiction. Though the vine was a plant, it felt lifeless, more like a dead shell without spiritual energy. She reminded the group that time was short and urged them to act quickly. The others agreed, deciding to focus on sensing energy in the area instead of rushing blindly. She warned everyone to stay within sight and not wander too far, ensuring they remained cautious. With resolve, she led the way, believing this path would be the safest option. She began cultivating, encased in a glowing barrier that pulsed with energy. From a distance, he observed with approval. Her choice of position was cautious yet effective, striking the perfect balance. Her energy surged violently, the aura around her intensifying as power built up within. He realized with surprise she was on the verge of breaking through, already close to reaching the 3-star level. She successfully advanced, her aura exploding into the 3-star Ghost Axe realm. The others watched in awe, praising her talent. But the massive vine stirred, its roots twisting ominously. One of them quickly noticed the change, alarm flashing across his face. The group panicked as the vine began moving toward them. Shocked, they realized it had sensed their presence even from afar. The massive vine lashed out, attacking the group. Panic spread as one shouted for everyone to run before they were killed. They realized Ye's breakthrough had caused too much disturbance, drawing the vine's full attention. If anyone got caught, the desolate aura would consume them instantly. Despite the danger, Yi remained focused within her barrier, still in the midst of her cultivation. The group argued fiercely. Some refused to abandon her, while others insisted it was suicide to stay. The tension rose as fear clashed with loyalty. One tried to reason with her, saying life and death were fate. If they stayed, they'd all perish, and since they were only acquaintances, it wasn't worth the risk. Frustration flared as tempers clashed. But she stood firm, refusing to abandon her teammate no matter what. From a distance, he watched silently, realizing her cousin had no idea of the danger closing in. Yi struggled within the tightening vines, their overwhelming power threatening to crush her barrier. He clenched his weapon, recalling his promise to his aunt he had sworn to protect her no matter what. Meanwhile, the others fought desperately, slashing at the spreading vines in a bid to hold them back. But one was ensnared, her body wrapped tightly as she cried out in pain, unable to break free. The vine struck fiercely at Yi's barrier, threatening to shatter it as she remained deep in cultivation. Just then, he leapt forward, his blade glowing with blazing golden energy. The others cried out in shock, fearing for Yi's safety. His sword descended like a fiery strike, cleaving through the vine with explosive force. His golden strike landed with explosive force, shaking the ground beneath the vine. The monstrous roots recoiled from the impact, retreating under the blazing energy. The others watched in disbelief, realizing the attack had forced it back. The golden aura continued to tear through the vine, burning away its strength. He descended with power radiating from his body, standing tall as the overwhelming force pushed the threat aside. They shielded their eyes from the blinding light, stunned by the overwhelming power that had just forced the vine back. One wondered if this was the appearance of another pioneer. They realized the blazing force was the purest Yang attribute, a rare high-tier power capable of suppressing the desolate vine. He compared it to his own talent, frustrated. Though he had reached the 3-star Ghost Axe realm in record time, only a handful in the country could display such overwhelming strength. Gritting his teeth, he admitted that Lin Yi's talent was close to his, yet not by much. Even so, the gap between them and this mysterious power was undeniable. He gripped his weapon tightly, realizing the vast difference between them. If such powerful pioneers existed, then what did that make the rest of them? From below, they stared at his radiant figure, admitting that his power had crushed not just one of them, but all of them. They questioned what kind of existence he truly was, his presence towering like something beyond human. Meanwhile, another marveled at the vine's terrifying technique, calling it a perpetual engine that could endlessly absorb life energy from its surroundings. The system extracted the vine's ability desolation attribute, a power that could instantly corrode and drain all surrounding life force. He opened his glowing green eyes, realizing why the vine had only thrived in such harsh terrain. If it had grown elsewhere, it would have drained the life from everything for dozens of miles around. Calmly, he reflected that this attribute was both brutal and tyrannical, a power that stripped vitality by force. He reflected on the desolation attribute, calling it tyrannical for forcefully stripping away the life force of others. One of the women thanked him sincerely, saying without his intervention they would have all died, asking how they could ever repay him. He waved it off, replying there was no need. In truth, he had gained the most endless vitality and the desolation attribute thanks to their lead. Meanwhile, the others decided it was wiser to focus on watching his cousin's movements more carefully from now on, especially after the earlier conflict. He departed swiftly, thinking to himself that when danger strikes, people reveal their true nature. A scattered and disorganized team would never survive the major shifts to come. The others stood in silence. One wondered aloud what they should do now. Another teased, asking if he regretted not helping earlier. They concluded that with the threat gone and Lin Yi having advanced to the third level, their best option was to stick with this team for as long as possible. Meanwhile, Yi slowly opened her eyes, her gaze now glowing with a new and powerful brilliance. Yi finally awakened, surprising everyone. They rushed over, relieved to see her conscious. Confused, she asked what had just happened, noticing the others still recovering on the ground. She then sensed the lingering yang energy nearby, its scorching intensity so strong that it could be felt even from a distance. One of them offered to explain what had happened, while the others quietly wondered about the mysterious man who had intervened. They were left in disbelief, wondering if someone that powerful could truly exist. One admitted he was practically a monster, far beyond their level. They recalled how no matter how hard they had tried, they couldn't cut through the vine, yet he had forced it back with a single slash. Looking up, they saw the massive vine curled far away in the sky, completely avoiding them after the clash. She thought about the man's lingering deterrent, noting how even after he left, the once raging vine had become meek and lifeless. When she returned home, he greeted her casually, surprised at her sudden appearance. He noticed her face looked pale and pointed it out with concern. She brushed it off with a smile, saying she was only tired from studying. He told her to rest after working so hard and suggested they order takeout for dinner. She agreed quietly. She reflected that breakthroughs were mentally exhausting, far worse than staying up all night for weeks. Lying down, she reminded herself that she was no longer ordinary, and even if she pushed herself harder, this was the path of a pioneer. The world was already changing. Meanwhile, he stepped outside, thinking that unlike his cousin, a normal life was no longer possible for him. She checked her phone and was surprised by a sudden message in the group chat. It was from Jia Lan, who instructed everyone to notify her if there was any trace of that powerhouse again. Others in the group speculated was the one who saved them the same figure who became famous at the Dark River Molten Dragon site. If so, why would someone of that level bother helping them? They recalled the overwhelming power of that slash, a burst of white light so intense that no pioneer of the same tier in Xia country could have possibly withstood it. He prepared to leave, thinking that Lin Yi would now likely lower her guard, allowing him to observe her movements more freely. Riding his bike through the night, he reminded himself it was time to figure out how to properly carry the desolation attribute. He reflected that the attribute leaned more toward plant-type entities, making it unique compared to others. But he also realized its sinister, corrosive nature could be dangerous. Placing it directly into his body might lead to severe negative effects. He considered that directly merging the desolation attribute with his body might conflict with his thunder attribute. Instead, he decided the best approach was to use an external medium, just like the strange ghost vine that had evolved after sensing spiritual energy revival. With determination in his eyes, he muttered that he now knew exactly where he needed to go. Under the moonlit sky, he rode his bike through the quiet mountain road, heading toward his next destination. He arrived at City Forest Park, parking his bike under the shade of a large tree. Walking into the field of flowers, he decided he needed to find a plant that resonated best with his spiritual energy, one that could become the lucky one. Closing his eyes, he calmed his mind, preparing to connect deeply with the surrounding energy. Soon, green spiritual light swirled around him, lifting his body as the plants began responding to his call. The plants around him began glowing faintly, seemingly responding to his spiritual energy. He noted the reaction was intense, yet still not sufficient for what he needed. Surrounded by swirling green light, he muttered that something stronger was required to succeed. Suddenly, he paused, sensing something unusual, his eyes lifting under the moonlight with sharp focus. In the glowing field, a single flower began to shine brighter than the rest, catching his attention. He wondered if this was the one. He slowly reached out his hand toward the flower, testing its resonance. As his finger touched the petals, the flower emitted a radiant green light, responding strongly to his energy. With a soft exhale, the flower fully bloomed under his touch, its glow intensifying as it accepted the bond. He examined the glowing wildflower, noting its unusual reaction to spiritual energy. It felt almost alive, clinging to his touch like a loyal pet. The flower's glow pulsed softly in his hand, fully resonating with his spiritual energy. He acknowledged its strong response and declared it the perfect vessel for embedding the desolation attribute, asking if it was ready. With a surge of green energy, he initiated the process, spiritual power swirling violently around the flower. As the system prompt appeared, asking if he wanted to embed the desolation attribute into the flower, his eyes glowed with determination. Without hesitation, he firmly answered yes, sealing his decision. The flower shone brilliantly in his hands, absorbing the green energy that surged wildly around him. The embedding process began, merging his power with the spiritual potential of the chosen flower.
This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, then don't forget to subscribe and like the video.
A powerful green light strikes down from the sky, shaking the ground. The man looks up, startled by the sudden flash. A glowing lotus begins to bloom in the forest. The flower fully opens, radiating a strange, luminous energy. Green energy surges from the flower, wrapping around the man as he observes its power. He senses the overwhelming force, comparing it to the hand of a demon. In just seconds, the energy spreads across the forest, draining everything in its path. The glowing lotus begins to shrink, its light slowly fading. He decides to stop, worried the spiritual energy association might notice, and uproots the glowing flower. Walking away, he recalls seeing many surveillance cameras and realizes the area is being closely monitored. The flower continues to absorb energy even without its roots, leaving him surprised. He notes that its power hasn't weakened and finds it remarkable that such an ordinary-looking wildflower could hold this much strength. A warning alarm blares as abnormal energy levels are detected, making him realize he may have triggered surveillance. Without hesitation, he takes off with the glowing flower in hand. At the monitoring center, staff panic as the energy levels spike beyond control. Authorities quickly mobilize, ordering the park to be quarantined and secured. A soldier's device shows the anomaly level hitting 30, far beyond normal limits. The unit enters the forest, noting that the military steps in whenever readings exceed 10. They scan the surroundings, puzzled by the unusually high spike. Despite normal conditions, they observe that all the plants seem to have been drained of life in an instant. Soldiers speculate about the source of the spiritual energy and head deeper into the forest. A commander yells for them to stop, warning them not to go closer. He explains that the power they sensed belongs to the desolation attribute, shocking the troops. He then asks if they know about the mysterious vine hanging from the sky. Soldiers realize the vine has already been classified as an O-rank mutation. Their leader explains that its deadly power comes from the desolation attribute, which drains all surrounding life. One soldier trembles at the thought of what could have happened if he had entered. The commander warns that plants with the desolation attribute create death zones, devouring the vitality of anyone who steps in. They recall data of another desolation plant that turned a forest into a deadly forbidden zone. The commander explains that desolation is the strongest plant attribute, and now a new one has appeared. An officer steps forward, stating he's already aware of the situation. The soldiers recognize him immediately, calling out to Major Hen. Soldiers order all research staff to put on protective suits and join them in the contaminated zone. Researchers quickly gear up, preparing to enter the area. The team advances cautiously through the dead forest. Despite no source being found, they notice the desolation aura has already dropped to 25, spreading unnaturally fast. The team decides to continue their investigation, moving deeper into the zone. They unleash blue spiritual energy, preparing for potential danger. The energy surges forward, lighting up the dark forest. It condenses into a powerful sphere, pulsing with intensity. At home, he places the glowing flower into a pot, joking about raising one for the first time. He notes that the desolation attribute makes it valuable in combat, while its plain appearance keeps it inconspicuous. He reflects that true battles depend not just on strength, but on hidden trump cards. Suddenly, his phone rings. Old Wang from next door is calling. He's surprised to see Old Wang calling, realizing it's his childhood friend who joined the army 3 years ago. A memory shows them walking together as desk mates through school before Wang left to become a soldier. Answering the call, he's greeted warmly by his old friend, who's excited to see him back. Wang suggests they meet up for a drink at their usual spot. Old Wang excitedly tells him over the phone that he has a huge secret to share. Later, Wang places his phone on the table, meeting with higher authorities. He reports that he has completed the task as instructed, but raises one concern. Wang asks if the person they're targeting turns out to be innocent. Could his safety be guaranteed? The commanding officer coldly orders him to focus only on completing the mission. She adds that if the target isn't the person they're searching for, he may at least give a final warning as a friend before cutting ties completely. The two of them raise their glasses and cheer together. The man thinks that looking at Fengyi now, his life in the military must have been tough. He also notices that Fengyi seems much more mature compared to before. The man says these past 3 years have left a deep impression on him, and life in the military was harsh. He then asks how Fengyi has been. Fengyi replies that he managed to pass the college entrance exam, which wasn't bad. Fengyi takes a sip, smiling faintly. He recalls that in his previous life, he never had the chance to meet this person again. In chaotic times like these, it's better not to mention certain things. He might have died in an unknown time and place during a mission. This time, could the future of his old comrade be changed? The man asks if Fengyi has recently encountered anything strange, for example, things like in movies, zombies, or monsters. Fengyi thinks to himself that this man, well, in the military, it's rare to know about the revival of spiritual energy. But still, is he trying to probe something with this question? Feng Yi looks at him and directly asks what exactly he wants to say. The man wipes his face and explains that he isn't here to accuse Feng Yi, but to warn him. He says in the near future, maybe a few months, or at most a year, their country will likely face turmoil again. Feng Yi stays silent, watching him carefully. He explains that ordinary citizens must cooperate with the authorities to keep this matter secret, not allowing any information about spiritual energy revival to spread. It's revealed that the man has already been listed as a key target and is under secret surveillance, mainly because of his close friendship with Wang. The man tells Feng Yi not to be nervous. He reassures him that as long as he doesn't spread anything, it will be fine. Wang is still in the military base in the south, protected by the country's strictest security, so he can feel at ease. The man's phone suddenly rings, catching his attention. He answers quickly, and a voice orders Wang Liang to regroup within 10 minutes with the emergency squad at the target location. He responds with a firm acknowledgement. He apologizes to Feng Yi, explaining that the mission is urgent. He tells him to head back on his own since he cannot send him off. Feng Yi looks at him and asks if the matter is related to the revival of spiritual energy. Then he firmly says to let him go along as well. The man looks surprised and tense at Feng Yi's sudden words. Feng Yi grabs him by the collar and tells him to bring him along, asking if this mission is also connected to their superior's orders. The man tries to respond, but Feng Yi assures him that even if his superiors didn't give instructions, he knows they wouldn't blame him for taking Feng Yi along. Feng Yi adds that he also wants to know what exactly the government plans to do regarding the revival of spiritual energy and what role the so-called experts actually play. In the large military base under heavy clouds, Feng Yi and the man walk side by side toward the entrance, with a note that this is one of the country's most secretive facilities. Feng Yi and the man arrive at a restricted area filled with soldiers. Someone announces Wang Liang's return. Feng Yi thinks to himself that this level of spiritual energy concentration might have already exceeded normal limits. They pass through the inspection checkpoint, and a soldier confirms their clearance, allowing them to proceed. The heavy doors open with force, revealing a blinding light and intense energy surging from within. Inside, a large group of soldiers surrounds a monstrous creature, restraining it with beams of spiritual energy. Feng Yi and Wang Liang stop at the entrance. The restrained monster suddenly releases a powerful red beam of energy, forcing the soldiers to hold their ground while struggling against its strength. Feng Yi observes the attack and notes that this is a fusion attribute. An officer explains that the monster combines fire and lightning attributes, making it extremely difficult to restrain. She adds that several soldiers have already been injured in the process. She then notices Wang Liang and calls his name. The officer's expression hardens as she questions Wang Liang. She asks why he has brought an unauthorized outsider like Feng Yi into the restricted area without permission. Wang Liang tries to respond but hesitates. The officer gives a sharp order, saying the situation is urgent. She instructs the soldiers to form up immediately and take defensive positions. The soldiers respond with acknowledgement. She glances at Feng Yi, questioning if this is the person Wang Liang brought in. She thinks to herself that he doesn't seem special, only appearing like an ordinary person who has awakened spiritual energy. The officer states that since Feng Yi is Wang Liang's friend, she won't press further, but she reminds him this is a restricted zone. Entering here is dangerous, and he must keep everything he sees a secret. Feng Yi calmly replies that he understands. She raises her weapon and shouts an order to Lai Yu, commanding him to tighten the defense. The restrained monster erupts with violent energy as soldiers leap into action, surrounding it from above. The officer fires her weapon, unleashing a powerful blast directly at the creature. The combined assault from the soldiers and the officer's attack strikes the monster head-on, filling the area with explosions. The monster roars fiercely, its entire body glowing red as it releases an even more terrifying surge of power. The monster's energy suddenly intensifies again, and it lets out a terrifying roar. Someone warns Lai Yu to be careful. Lai Yu engages the beast directly, blocking its fierce attacks with quick counterstrikes. The officer orders everyone to stay alert and keep their distance from the monster. She instructs them to eliminate it before it completes its evolution. The soldiers acknowledge her command. Feng Yi watches from the back and thinks that the squad's coordination and combat efficiency are impressive. He reflects that even the strongest individuals must work together to unleash their full potential. Feng Yi's eyes widen in shock. he urgently shouts to the soldiers that they are not the monster's match. Dark purple energy erupts violently from the beast, spreading across the battlefield and forcing the soldiers to brace themselves. The officer quickly raises her weapon and shouts orders to raise the alert level, declaring a state of emergency in the restricted zone. She commands everyone not to retreat. The soldiers answer her command. The monster grows even more terrifying, its body now fully merged with the power of the black crystal. A warning is given that it has completed its evolution, and the danger level has drastically increased. The monster's eye glows ominously red, terrifying those who face it. A soldier can only stare in shock. The officer shouts Wang Liang's name in alarm. At the same moment, Feng Yi's eyes glow blue as he activates his power. The monster charges forward with violent force, clashing head-on against the defense. The officer yells to everyone that the mutated beast in Area 019 has now completed its evolution into a higher stage, upgraded to Class B. She announces that the battle plan must be updated immediately. Feng Yi watches silently from behind. A soldier coughs up blood violently, collapsing as Feng Yi turns to look at him. Feng Yi rushes to his side and asks if he's alright. The soldier continues to bleed heavily. Struggling to speak, the soldier explains that the monster released a wave of energy that crushed his insides, causing him to collapse. With blood still dripping from his mouth, the soldier forces a smile and tells Feng Yi not to worry. He says the soldiers of the 19th unit are all strong. Feng Yi silently steps forward. The officer shouts to everyone, ordering them to use any means necessary. She declares that no matter the cost, they must not allow the Class B mutated beast to escape the restricted zone, even if it means sacrificing their lives. Feng Yi's body glows with blue energy as he surges forward. The officer turns in shock, demanding to know what he intends to do.
This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, then don't forget to subscribe and like the video.
He charges forward, his body wrapped in crackling blue lightning. His glowing eyes lock onto the beast ahead, and he mutters if it thinks madness alone can overwhelm him. The monstrous creature roars, its blood-red eyes flashing as it swings its claws with murderous force. The impact splits the ground, yet he stands firm, raising his arm as lightning surges to meet the attack. Without hesitation, he thrusts himself upward, lightning wings bursting from his back. The beast snarls in fury, but its movements can't keep up with the blinding speed of his assault. With all his strength, he channels the divine thunder into a devastating strike. The beast's head is consumed in a massive explosion of blue energy, its roar drowned out by the crack of lightning tearing through the air. The beast is struck head-on by the violent surge of blue lightning, its body consumed in the explosive blast. The shockwave tears across the battlefield, sending soldiers stumbling back as debris scatters in every direction. One man stares in disbelief, questioning if he saw it right. He realizes this is the kind of abnormal mutation even high-ranking officers can't handle alone. Another soldier turns to his superior in shock, asking if his brother could truly be the one behind this power. The red-haired officer, sweat on her face, admits none of them are mistaken. The beast collapses, its body scorched and smoking as he stands tall amidst the aftermath, lightning still flickering around him. With a cold stare, he remarks that the creature isn't fully dead yet, but this much is enough. He then orders the officers and others nearby to fall back. The red-haired officer watches in shock, realizing that even with their entire squad working together, they could barely restrain such a monster, yet he has done it alone. Her eyes narrow as she admits the truth. This overwhelming strength isn't ordinary power, it's an extreme attribute at its highest level. He raises his arm, lightning spiraling around him as immense energy gathers, shaking the very air. The crackling current surges through his hand, and the red-haired officer watches tensely, realizing his power is still climbing. The storm above thickens, forming a massive vortex of thunder and clouds. She wonders aloud just how terrifying his evolution will become. With a steady step forward, he advances, his presence alone pressing down like a storm ready to break. A blinding surge of lightning erupts from the ground as he walks forward calmly, his presence embodying the word Overlord. His expression remains cold and steady, electricity flickering across his body like it naturally belongs to him. Two men watch in awe, nervously joking that his thunderous aura is so overwhelming it feels 1,000 times more terrifying than before. Another soldier rushes over, shouting in relief that he's safe. Laughing, he admits the boy nearly scared him to death. A soldier slaps him on the shoulder with a laugh, teasing that he never expected his comrade to be this powerful. He apologizes for keeping his true strength hidden, joking that military orders kept him from revealing it sooner. His friend laughs in disbelief, saying after not seeing him for 3 years, he's shocked to learn who he really is. Turning away, he exchanges a brief glance with the red-haired officer, the battlefield calm after the storm. The officer steps forward with a serious expression, extending her hand as she sincerely thanks him for his help. He smiles faintly, his crimson eyes glowing with calm confidence after the intense battle. When the officer thanks him, he responds modestly, saying it was simply to protect his friends. The red-haired officer formally introduces herself as the guardian of Base 019 and requests his contact information, promising to report everything truthfully. He agrees without hesitation, while those around watch in quiet awe at the respect the officer shows him. The red-haired officer acknowledges his strength, admitting it surpasses even the elite task force members. She expresses her strong desire to have him join the recovery army. Yet, in her thoughts, she notes something even more shocking: his growth and potential far exceed the level of an ordinary awakened soldier. He calmly asks if she's truly willing to invite someone like him into their ranks. He insists there's no need for flattery, since he doesn't see it as anything special. The officer explains that the order to recruit him didn't come from her alone, but from the higher-ups. Whether he accepts or not, they will eventually come for him themselves. He laughs softly, admitting it's not as serious as they think. He explains that he actually admires their determination to risk their lives protecting others, something he hadn't truly witnessed before. The red-haired officer listens in silence, slightly moved by his words. He continues with a calm smile, saying they can rely on him in the future whenever trouble arises, just as past generations once protected humanity. However, he sets one condition: his freedom must never be restricted. The officer is left speechless, her expression tightening as she processes his demand. He announces that time is running short and prepares to take his leave. The officer agrees, saying she and her men will handle the remaining cleanup and escort him back safely. As he walks away, he reflects on the true value of the army, its role in navigating dangerous spirit zones, ensuring safe passage while maintaining the advantage in battle. At the same time, he realizes the army also acts as a shield, drawing a clear line of defense between ordinary humans and the extraordinary threats that roam the world. One soldier whispers that after what they've seen today, describing him as merely not simple no longer fits. In truth, today's display was only the tip of the iceberg of his true power. As he floats above the crowd, his overwhelming aura leaves everyone stunned. They whisper that to reach such a level so quickly, he must possess knowledge and strength beyond ordinary means. A soldier suggests they cannot simply let him slip away, hinting that if the officer won't recruit him, they should hand the task over to him. The red-haired officer immediately silences him with force, ordering him and the others to follow her command without question. Later that night, under the quiet sky, the scene shifts to a building glowing with light, marking the beginning of what comes next. While meditating, he reflects that although his identity has been exposed, the true extent of his power remains hidden. He knows their cautious attitude toward him is far from unnecessary. He concludes that this so-called extraordinary ability is kept highly confidential, with strict restrictions placed on its spread. To the outside world, it barely exists at all. In truth, the authorities are not only monitoring him, but also ensuring he doesn't slip beyond their control. To them, he is both a weapon and a liability that must be contained. He recognizes the balance at play. The army acts as guardians, imposing discipline and defense, while the Spirit Association handles purification and stabilizes cities. Together, they maintain the fragile peace of ordinary life. The city remains under strict watch, with authorities dividing districts between normal citizens and the extraordinary. This delicate system has bought valuable time for ordinary people, sparing them from chaos and bloodshed. Meanwhile, he meditates, golden energy swirling around him as he gathers immense power within his core. Even in a restricted spirit zone, where power should be suppressed, his strength continues to grow rapidly, defying all expectations. His body radiates with blinding golden light as he realizes he's on the verge of breaking through to the next realm. A girl walks through the quiet city streets at night, wondering if her cousin has returned yet. She thinks about asking him to test her training progress, though she isn't sure if he's available. Suddenly, a brilliant golden light erupts in the distance, cutting through the dark skyline and drawing everyone's attention. She stares in shock, her eyes wide as she whispers in disbelief, struggling to understand what she's seeing. Her eyes widen in shock as she realizes what she's witnessing. It looks like the terrifying phenomenon of a demonic breakthrough. Above the city, a radiant golden core bursts open, its violent energy twisting into the sky. She senses that this aura is far beyond anything she imagined. The explosion of light intensifies, forming a colossal golden pillar wrapped in arcs of lightning, as if the heavens themselves are being torn apart. A golden light tears through the sky, forming an enormous hand that descends over the city. The girl looks up, stunned, as the overwhelming force shakes the streets. People around her freeze in disbelief, unable to process what they are witnessing. The giant hand clenches, radiating waves of destructive energy. Its brilliance spreads across the clouds like thunder. The girl realizes this is no ordinary attack, but a spirit weapon, something that shouldn't even exist here. The sheer power feels unstoppable. She stands rooted in place, her gaze locked upward. Shock fills her eyes as she wonders how such a weapon could appear so suddenly. The sight leaves her both fearful and curious, as though an ancient force has awakened right before her. Far away, in a dim control room filled with glowing red screens, alarms ring out sharply. Military officers urgently shout reports, warning that the energy levels have spiked to 99%, a critical danger threshold. The entire system flashes warnings, confirming that this incident is not just unusual, but a major threat to the city. Emergency orders are issued as officers shout for units to head straight to the city center. A girl with white hair looks alarmed as she hears that the anomaly won't stop spreading and could cause even greater destruction if left unchecked. Inside the command center, soldiers gather around a glowing city map projection. The energy surge is highlighted in bright orange, shaking everyone with its intensity. Officials question whether this wave could trigger a large-scale disaster beyond their control. A senior officer yells into his communicator, declaring that aside from protecting the central region, all ground forces must be fully mobilized. The urgency in his voice makes it clear that this threat is far greater than anything they have faced before. Suddenly, gunshots echo from a nearby corridor. One officer quickly reports that enemy infiltrators have broken through, and he calls for immediate reinforcements. His eyes widen as the situation escalates faster than expected. A man smirks, his sharp gaze showing he already knows more than he reveals. His calm demeanor contrasts with the chaos unfolding outside. He places a hand on his chin, reflecting quietly. Aside from the strange energy disturbance, he suspects there is a much deeper issue behind all this. His phone vibrates with a new message. He checks it immediately, recognizing the sender as someone important. The screen displays a long exchange of texts about the ongoing incident. They discuss the dangerous outbreak and confirm it is not a coincidence. After reading the messages carefully, He sits back on the couch in silence, his expression unreadable as he processes the weight of the information. The man reviews information on his tablet, his eyes glowing with a faint red light. The data confirms that the recent surge is tied to dangerous spirit weapons, capable of overwhelming both defense systems and energy barriers at once. The door creaks open, and the girl steps inside quietly. She states simply that she has returned, her expression serious as if she senses the weight of the situation. She looks around the room and asks if he has also noticed the disturbance shaking the city. He acknowledges her presence and tells her to sit down while he prepares tea, keeping his calm demeanor despite the chaos outside. Her eyes narrow with concern. She admits that what's happening isn't normal and insists that the mysterious wave cannot be ignored. It's the sign of something far more dangerous lurking behind the scenes. The man scrolls through his phone, analyzing the reports. He notes that while the authorities are suppressing news of the anomaly, the situation is escalating too quickly to be contained. If left unchecked, it could turn into a full-scale disaster. The girl listens silently, her face calm but her eyes reflecting unease. In the background, the faint sound of alarms continues as the outside world grows more chaotic. She throws herself onto the bed, muttering that the authorities might already know more than they are revealing. She suspects that certain powerful families or organizations are involved, and whatever their plans are, it won't end well. Meanwhile, the man narrows his eyes at a video playing on his screen. Flames engulf buildings, and the destruction spreads at an alarming rate. He realizes this isn't just another accident, this firestorm is part of something much bigger. On his phone screen, live footage shows the city consumed by raging flames. Reports confirm that the explosion originated from a powerful energy source, and the fire continues to spread uncontrollably. The man lowers his phone, his expression calm yet sharp. He recalls past events involving powerful figures, wondering what role they might play this time. His thoughts hint at a dangerous connection between the current disaster and past schemes. Elsewhere, a large university gate comes into view. Crowds gather outside, whispering anxiously about recent events. Some wonder aloud if this sudden closure has ties to the massive energy surge reported in the city. Two figures walk toward the gate with steady steps. One of them comments that the closure is officially for safety, but the timing suggests there's much more hidden beneath the surface. At the university gates, soldiers raise their weapons as the man and the red-haired woman approach. The crowd watches in shock, whispering about who these people could be and why security is treating them with such caution. The gates open, and the pair walk in side by side. Their confident steps and calm expressions make it clear they are not ordinary visitors, but people of significant influence. Inside, the destruction becomes visible. Buildings are reduced to rubble, smoke rises into the sky, and flames still burn in the distance. The man remarks that this devastation is far beyond normal accidents. It's the result of something deliberate. Meanwhile, helicopters hover over a forest consumed by raging fire. The inferno spreads rapidly across the mountains, and officials question whether this disaster was truly a coincidence or part of a greater plan. The red-haired woman tells the man she's heading to the office and asks if he plans to check the site of the explosion. He nods, agreeing to investigate personally. She warns him to be careful before they part ways. The man walks alone toward the restricted area, his steps calm and steady. The site is heavily damaged, surrounded by caution tape and silence. He crouches down near the ruins, noting that the blast's traces point directly to spirit energy. It becomes clear to him that yesterday's massive fire wasn't a natural accident, but a deliberate act. His expression hardens as his red eyes narrow. He realizes that the clues lead to something much larger, and someone he knows may already be connected to this destruction. The man suddenly notices two girls in uniform approaching. Recognizing them, he questions why they are here at such a dangerous site. One of the girls calls out his name in surprise, pointing out that she didn't expect to see him so close to the explosion zone. The other girl, cheerful and lively, teases him. She says she already knew he wasn't just an ordinary student and hints that he's been hiding his true abilities all along. The red-haired woman at her side remains composed, observing the exchange. The man's eyes narrow, glowing faintly red. He mutters the girl's name, realizing she might be connected to something bigger. His voice carries suspicion as he wonders if she has been involved in the recent incident. A group of students notices the man and the red-haired woman. They question whether he belongs to their school, mocking the situation and wondering how an outsider could casually be here after such chaos. One outspoken girl points at him, accusing him of sneaking around. She argues that if the school is under strict security, then he must be breaking the rules by being here. Her tone makes it clear she doesn't trust him. The red-haired woman frowns, her expression growing heavier. She quietly mutters that this isn't the time for baseless suspicion, as the real issue is far more serious than the students realize. Another woman turns to the man, asking bluntly if this red-haired companion is his friend. Her question hangs in the air, sparking tension between the two groups. The man calmly introduces the red-haired woman, explaining that she is simply a former high school classmate. His casual tone surprises the others, who didn't expect such a connection. The red-haired woman smiles faintly, her sharp gaze hidden behind tinted glasses. Her expression carries a hint of amusement, as though she knows more than she lets on. Two girls look shocked, whispering to each other in disbelief. They wonder why someone like her would be acquainted with him, sensing that this relationship isn't as simple as he makes it sound. The red-haired woman speaks seriously, reminding him that the principal has called for everyone to regroup at the designated area. She stresses the importance of acting cautiously until they understand the full extent of the crisis. The man replies briefly, agreeing with her words, though his eyes remain cold and unreadable. Security guards order the crowd to step back, declaring the area sealed. No one is allowed to approach, and the atmosphere quickly grows tense. The red-haired student steps forward, her tone sharp as she questions why such extreme measures are being taken inside the school. The other students murmur nervously behind her. An elderly man with a cane appears, his presence immediately silencing the crowd. He explains that the school has strict rules and that even the smallest disturbance cannot be ignored. His words carry authority, making it clear that he is a powerful figure in charge. The students whisper among themselves, realizing this elder must be someone important. One girl jokes lightly, suggesting that if even he has come forward, then the situation involving the red-haired woman and the man must be far more serious than they thought. The red-haired student remains silent, her expression unreadable. The man and the red-haired woman are led forward by guards until they stand face to face with the elder. The tension in the air is heavy as everyone watches closely. The elder greets him warmly, shaking his hand. He introduces him as the new representative tied to Fang's name, making it clear that his arrival holds special significance. The elder then gestures toward the waiting cars, saying arrangements have already been made. He instructs him to board immediately, signaling that the meeting ahead is of great importance. Nearby, the red-haired student steps forward with a commanding voice, ordering all unrelated bystanders to back away. Her sharp tone leaves no room for argument, and the students quickly retreat in silence. Guards spread their arms to block the crowd, ordering everyone to step back. The students protest loudly, questioning why someone like him deserves such treatment from the school's leaders. Among the crowd, the red-haired student looks uneasy. She wonders aloud what kind of influence the man holds to be recognized so highly, far beyond what any ordinary person could achieve. Lowering her head, she recalls the words of the principal, who once hinted that Fang's background was far from simple. The thought unsettles her, leaving her unsure how much she truly knows about him. Nearby students whisper in disbelief. They argue that this level of respect is impossible unless Fang is connected to someone of great power or influence. The realization begins to spread among the crowd, shifting their perception of him. In the middle of the crowd, a girl with long red hair steps forward. The attention shifts instantly to her as whispers spread among the students. They realize that throughout the entire incident, the boy never once acknowledged her status as the school's beauty and center of attention. The revelation leaves the crowd in shock, deepening the mystery around his true nature. At Kingcheng University, everything seemed normal until a series of strange incidents began to unfold. One night, a field suddenly burst into flames. The fire burned uncontrollably, and not even the fire trucks could put it out. Fortunately, no students were present at the time, and the authorities quickly sealed off the area to prevent further danger. Not long after, another field caught fire, followed by more incidents. What started as something explainable soon became mysterious. Witnesses reported seeing crimson flames falling from the sky and fire floating in mid-air with no visible source, making the situation even more unsettling. Although most of the fires across the fields were eventually extinguished, one blaze continued to burn stubbornly. The group stood before it, realizing this was no ordinary fire. He notices the air thick with smoke, the burnt smell heavy and suffocating. The group observes the fire burning around the basketball hoop, confirmed as the only spot where the flames refuse to be extinguished. A device is revealed, showing a reading of 11, drawing everyone's attention. It's explained as a spiritual power detection device. If the reading goes beyond 10, the area becomes too dangerous for ordinary people, as human life cannot withstand anomalies above that level. The detector suddenly spikes, showing an alarming reading of 60, shocking everyone. It's explained that the threshold is far too high if left unchecked. The anomaly could spread beyond the university and threaten the entire city. Urgent action is required. In the chaos, someone rushes past the restricted zone despite the danger, drawing urgent shouts from the group. The figure leaps into the flames, immediately engulfed in a violent explosion of fire. The detector surges again, shooting up to 110, confirming the anomaly as an S-grade threat. The group panics, realizing someone has already rushed inside. They question what to do now as the danger rises beyond control. Within the blazing fire, a massive fiery beast begins to take shape, its presence overwhelming. Amid the flames, a lone figure walks forward calmly, facing the inferno head-on. He recalls how the young attribute once shielded him from the dangers of fire, and believes this heavenly flame will be no different. Before him, a massive fiery dragon emerges, its form blazing with overwhelming power. He knows he must get as close as possible to the origin of the flame. The dragon roars, its maw wide open as it lunges to consume him. Unfazed, he steps forward, golden energy radiating from his body as he prepares to counter the flame's might. He calls upon his power, releasing the golden sun armor as flames swirl around him. The fiery dragon lunges at him with overwhelming force, jaws wide open. He braces himself, his body engulfed in blazing energy as he's pushed back by the intense heat. Despite the unbearable pressure of the heavenly fire, he resolves firmly he must absorb it, no matter the cost. He successfully obtains the Heavenly Fire Attribute Technique 9 Dragons Heavenly Fire Sealing Technique, a power that purges evil, suppresses demons, and seals wicked entities. Fiery dragons coil around him as the technique activates, already unlocked without the need for further training. The flames surge violently, manifesting into a terrifying formation of dragon heads towering before him. Calm and determined, he focuses his will, ready to wield the newfound power against the overwhelming blaze. He activates the 9 Dragons Heavenly Fire Sealing Technique, his eyes glowing red with fierce determination. Dark energy surges through his body as the technique takes form, spreading violently around him. Chains of blazing fire erupt, binding the massive flame in a powerful seal. The onlookers watch in awe, realizing they are witnessing the aura of a true sealing technique. It's noted that his power differs from the original source, yet carries the same overwhelming force. He commands the fiery chains to shrink, pulling the raging flames under control. The burning energy compresses into a smaller form, swirling tightly within the chains. With a final surge, the sealing technique completes, locking the flames into a compact, controlled sphere. The blazing sphere, bound by chains, floats steadily in his hands, proof that the seal has been fully mastered. She explains that the heavenly fire has been temporarily sealed. No one is allowed near it, and the field won't be reopened. Thankfully, the school has other fields to use. She stays quiet, her expression heavy, clearly troubled by the events. The principal reassures her and notes the school's extravagance, with multiple sports fields. Meanwhile, the boy requests a private discussion with advisor Fang. The principal agrees with a smile, allowing the conversation to proceed, though he seems curious about the matter. She tells him he handled the heavenly fire well, though he downplays it, admitting the flames were difficult to control. Her expression sharpens as she points out that he has been hiding his true talent and cultivation. He responds calmly, saying it's normal for pioneers to keep secrets, especially ones as powerful as his. She stresses that in times of great upheaval, the nation needs top-tier talents like him, even comparing his potential influence to that of a modern nuclear deterrent once the spiritual Kai fully revives. It's explained that whether it's the military, restricted zones, or major associations, all of them would want to recruit someone like him. Even foreign powers might try with tempting offers. She advises him to consider it seriously so he won't be caught off guard when the time comes. Joining the military, she says, would be a great benefit to their nation. He pauses, then questions why neither she nor Wang Liang have ever tried recruiting him directly into their restricted zone. He wonders if they see him as unworthy. She admits the truth. Their legendary military district is unusually strong. That's why she thought he might be more interested in joining them instead. He reacts with interest upon hearing about a top-level group. She explains that it's the most elite military unit in the nation, so renowned that even other districts are aware of them. Though she hasn't seen them in action lately, word is they've been very busy. He notes that even such an elite force seems to be facing serious challenges. She suggests they end the discussion for now and head to the university cafeteria. A scene reveals the scale of the battles the group faces, fighting powerful monsters in situations that demand pioneers of the highest caliber, possibly even beyond sky rank. He reflects that the revival of spiritual Kai is approaching, yet he still feels unprepared. He examines the heavenly fire attribute collected from the field, recognizing its destructive nature that consumes everything it touches. Suddenly, inspiration strikes. He realizes the perfect way to utilize its power. He fuses it with his Crimson Flame Blade technique, enhancing it with deadly enchantments, confident that perfection can always be pushed further. The story opens on the back mountain, a quiet and expansive range covered in thick greenery. The man pauses for a moment, recognizing the area and sensing something unusual about it. He steps deeper into the forest, his white suit standing out against the misty trees. Holding his sword casually at his side, his expression sharpens as he grows more alert, trying to understand why this place has been marked off. Ahead, he finds a large wooden sign warning travelers not to climb any further. This surprises him, as the mountain shows no abnormal activity. He reasons that only someone with knowledge of his movements like the Spirit Kai Association could have arranged this so quickly. A faint smile spreads across his face as he connects the pieces. Instead of seeing the warning as a barrier, he interprets it as permission. If they want him to treat this mountain as his own ground for experiments, then he's more than willing to accept. His sharp eyes narrow as he suddenly senses something unusual in the forest. He halts, realizing even weak creatures have managed to sneak into the back mountain. The aura he feels now matches the one he encountered earlier at the factory, though slightly weaker. Remaining calm, he continues forward, keeping his focus on the surroundings. From above, a shadow stirs, moving quickly among the trees. A monstrous beast drops from the branches, its red eyes glowing fiercely as it prepares to attack. He observes the blade and realizes it now has the ability to gauge an enemy's strength before attacking. Gripping the weapon tightly, he prepares to test its power. A system prompt appears, offering him the chance to infuse the Tang blade with the heavenly fire attribute. Without hesitation, he accepts. The sword erupts in blazing flames, radiating righteous energy. Golden fire courses through his body as he merges with the weapon's newfound strength. With fiery determination, he combines the heavenly fire with his crimson fire blade technique, eager to see what devastating effect the fusion will unleash against his opponent. With flames blazing around him, he unleashes the empowered blade, aiming it directly at the beast. The creature's eyes widen in shock as it senses the overwhelming power descending upon it. The fiery strike engulfs the monster, twisting into a blazing whirlwind that scorches everything in its path. The beast howls in agony. As the flames settle, he calmly observes the destruction. The power is far stronger than his original crimson fire blade technique, and the energy itself leaves no effect on him personally. He inspects the blazing blade, running his hand across it calmly. Despite its fierce flames, he remarks that it feels cold to the touch. With a confident look, he decides to continue forward, determined to track down the intruder he sensed earlier. Meanwhile, a live stream begins elsewhere. A phone on a tripod records as a cheerful girl insists to her viewers that she isn't a scammer, claiming she has always been lucky since childhood. She smiles brightly at the camera, explaining that even though it's her first day streaming, exciting content seems to come her way naturally. Comments flood her feed, with some doubting her and others challenging her to prove herself. The girl continues her live stream confidently, unaware of the danger closing in around her. Suddenly, a beast lunges forward, striking her down and shattering her equipment in the process. Her phone falls violently to the ground, the screen cracking as the live broadcast continues. Pinned beneath the monster, she screams in pain while the audience watches in shock. Some viewers assume it's staged, dismissing the attack as fake, while others demand to know what just happened. The girl struggles beneath the beast's grip, her face streaked with fear and tears as she weakly pleads for it to stop. The monster roars ferociously, its jaws dripping as it prepares to finish her off. Suddenly, a blazing dragon-shaped flame bursts forth, tearing through the scene with overwhelming power. The fiery dragon crashes down, shocking both the beast and the girl. Viewers watching the stream are stunned, questioning if what they're seeing is real or just high-level special effects. The live stream viewer count skyrockets past 13,000 as the intense battle unfolds. The girl, still shaken but alive, looks up in shock and recognizes someone emerging from the chaos. Her trembling hand grabs the phone tightly, determined to capture what's happening. Through the blazing inferno, she records the moment, shouting that someone is standing within the flames. The audience erupts with excitement as the mysterious figure begins to reveal himself. The livestream captures him cutting through the flames, and viewers erupt with excitement, calling him an immortal deity saving people. Clips of his fiery strikes spread rapidly online, reaching millions of views and taking the #1 trending spot. At a computer lab, a girl excitedly shows her friend the viral video, insisting that deities must have descended and that the heavenly fire is real. Her friend dismisses it with skepticism, claiming it's just staged special effects, but her serious expression suggests she may not fully believe her own words. Excited students point at the video spreading online, insisting that the fiery display was real and proof of something extraordinary. One of the girls, however, refuses to believe, claiming it's all just special effects. Yet deep down, she struggles to dismiss the uncanny resemblance to someone she once knew. Elsewhere, two women discuss the footage, noting how much the mysterious figure looks like the pioneer who once saved them. They wonder if he could be the same person. In another location, two men watch the clip. They recognize the identical blade swing and realize they may have stumbled upon someone far stronger than they imagined. In the city, leaders acknowledge the crisis drawing near, worried about the shortage of pioneers to defend them. At a meeting, officials discuss the situation, mentioning recent military talks with Feng Yi. One officer expresses confidence that he will step in to help. Another officer points out his terrifying growth, reaching the spirit creation realm so quickly and possessing multiple high-level attributes. They argue that with such power, he must be recruited. However, it's revealed that the higher-ups remain hesitant to approach him directly, since all top pioneers before him were trained within the military itself. Officials decide to assess what Feng Yi still lacks, planning to provide him with new weapons and training resources. At the same time, they stress the need to control the live stream and circulating videos. They note that the entire Spirit Kai circle of Xia Nation is already focused on him. One commander smiles, admitting the boy has created anticipation for what he might do next. In a quiet hospital room, a heart monitor beeps steadily as someone lies unconscious on a bed. A student sits beside them, speaking softly. She tells her teacher that with someone this powerful appearing, Xia Nation now has new hope, and perhaps so does their chance of waking up again. The next day, sunlight falls over the city as the chaos from yesterday still lingers in people's minds. The unexpected live stream from the back mountain created a massive stir. Sitting calmly at a table, he reflects on the event, noting how someone risked everything just for attention. As he eats, he considers the aftermath. The live stream and video have now completely vanished from the internet, wiped away without a trace. His sharp eyes narrow. He suspects the removal must be the work of either the military or the Spirit Kai Association. He notices Lin Yi hasn't returned all night and didn't even leave a message, which immediately raises concern. He tries calling her, but the line is unreachable. His expression hardens, realizing something is wrong, she wouldn't act so irresponsibly. Determined, he decides he must find her, sensing the situation is more serious than it seems. Elsewhere, in a misty forest, two girls wander anxiously. One asks how long they've been trapped, uncertain of their fate. The two girls remain trapped in the forest, exhausted. One admits they've been stuck for nearly 10 hours and apologizes for dragging her friend into the danger, mistaking the threat at first for an ordinary shadow wraith. Her injury becomes clear as she clutches her bleeding side, struggling to stay steady. The other girl takes charge, telling her not to waste energy on apologies. She insists they must stay alert and conserve their strength, though she admits she still isn't strong enough. As determination flickers in her eyes, she recalls the fiery expert who had displayed overwhelming power. She wishes she had that same strength to protect them now. In the depths of the forest, the two girls stand close together, fear heavy in their expressions. From behind, a massive shadow wraith emerges, its glowing red eyes piercing through the darkness. The creature's towering figure looms over them, its dark aura filling the air with dread. The injured girl clutches her side, while the other braces herself, both realizing the terrifying danger standing right behind them. Out of the shadows, a monstrous figure suddenly lunges toward the two women. Its claws slash forward with terrifying speed, leaving them frozen in shock for a moment. But before the creature can strike, the black-haired girl shouts a warning. She steps in front of her companion, gathering energy in her hand. A bright glow forms instantly, her quick reaction saving them from the sudden ambush. With a sharp movement, she releases the glowing strike. The beam of light shoots upward, colliding directly with the monster's body. The impact forces the creature back, its dark form thrown off balance by the powerful attack. Yet the danger is far from over. More distorted figures crawl out from the darkness, their twisted bodies moving unnaturally. As she stares at them, realization hits these are not ordinary monsters. They are the very people who were trapped here before, twisted into these horrifying forms after their deaths. The two women stand over fallen corpses, realizing something is wrong. Their attacks have no effect on the black fog, and even the spirit energy they release is useless. The enemy doesn't seem harmed at all. They look around cautiously. It feels as though the fog is waiting for them to exhaust every ounce of their strength. The oppressive force surrounds them like a cage, treating them as prey trapped with no escape. The red-haired woman's eyes narrow, her expression tense. A single bead of sweat runs down her face, showing the weight of the situation pressing in on them. Suddenly, a crimson eye appears in the swirling darkness above. Its gaze locks on them, radiating overwhelming malice. Both women freeze in shock, realizing the true threat has just revealed itself. The crimson eye pulses violently, its glow growing more intense. Dark energy swirls around it, making the air heavy with dread. Suddenly, multiple smaller red eyes begin to split off, multiplying within the vortex. Each one stares down at them, as if the abyss itself is alive and watching from every angle. Fury replaces fear. The black-haired girl lashes out, unleashing her power while shouting at the monstrous entity. Blazing energy erupts, slamming into the fiery eyes as she demands its destruction. She steadies herself, warning her companion not to falter. The creature is losing patience, and any weakness now could mean the end for them both. Her sharp gaze shows determination, refusing to let despair take over. The girl's eyes widen in silence, reflecting the eerie glow of the crimson light. She braces herself as the darkness presses closer. A piercing flash erupts from above, sending icy shards crashing down. She looks up in shock as the monstrous force reveals its power, freezing everything in its path. Surrounded by countless red eyes staring down at her, she feels completely overwhelmed. Her voice trembles as she wonders if this is truly the end. Meanwhile, her companion is consumed by writhing shadows, her body dragged into the void. Her thoughts echo with regret she shouldn't have acted alone, overestimating their strength. Believing they could finish this mission by themselves has now led to ruin. Her eyes close slowly, a calm acceptance settling in. She reflects that the path of cultivation has always been filled with danger, and perhaps her fate was to vanish one day in some forgotten place. As the abyss pulls her deeper, she wonders about the future. What kind of world will rise after this? What role will those who remain play in shaping it? She realizes she may never again witness the tide of Spirit Kai revival. Tears stream down her face as she braces for the inevitable, her body trembling between despair and unwillingness. But suddenly, a blinding surge of blue light erupts above. It cuts through the suffocating darkness, leaving her stunned as she reaches upward, unsure if it's salvation or another cruel trick. From the explosion of blue light, a figure bursts forth, descending with overwhelming power. His presence tears through the darkness, scattering the suffocating energy. The man steadies himself in midair, his glowing eyes sharp and confident. He mutters that it was a close call, his calm demeanor contrasting the chaos around them. Tears stream down the girl's face as she stares in disbelief. Shocked, she cries out this figure is her cousin. His strike crashes downward like divine judgment, splitting the abyss with crackling energy. The darkness shatters under his force, leaving only the brilliance of his attack behind. The girl looks on in relief, realizing it truly is her cousin who saved her. His overwhelming power radiates through the crackling blue energy. Shocked, the red-haired woman whispers that he's not an ordinary person. But danger lurks close. From the shadows, the anomaly's true body emerges a grotesque, many-eyed creature creeping up behind him. The girl quickly shouts a warning, telling him the main body is right at his rear. Flames surge into his hand as he prepares to counter. He doesn't flinch. Instead, a confident grin spreads across his face. Declaring his intent, he vows to test heavenly fire against the creature's dark attribute, unleashing a blaze that roars with destructive force. The man dives forward, unleashing a devastating blaze that engulfs the anomaly in a torrent of fire. The flames roar with overwhelming intensity. The monstrous entity shrieks as it is swallowed whole by the raging inferno, its body writhing in agony. The two women huddle together amidst the sea of flames, one weakly asking if they might already be dead. Fear grips them as the fire rages all around. The black-haired girl steadies herself, assuring her companion to look closer. Despite the inferno, they are still alive. Shocked, the red-haired woman realizes this fire is not consuming them, but only their enemy. The two women stare in disbelief, realizing they are still alive. Relief washes over them as the man casually assures them the enemy has been dealt with, even joking that he hasn't had breakfast yet. The red-haired woman's eyes widen as recognition strikes her. Excitedly, she recalls that he was the one who saved them back in Yanaming Town during the Death Ghost incident. The man scratches his head, admitting it wasn't that hard to recognize him after all. The black-haired girl reacts in shock, questioning if the powerful fire-wielding expert they saw earlier was really her cousin. The red-haired woman smirks, teasing her for once calling him mediocre. The man scratches his head with a sheepish smile, not bothering to deny their suspicions any longer. The red-haired woman clutches the black-haired girl's shoulders, excitedly recounting his past feats defeating ghost corpses, drawing attention from Sister Su Yan, and even standing out in the wasteland. They piece the truth together. He isn't just a high-level fire user, his thunder attribute was strong enough to obliterate the black fog. Their eyes widen as they wonder if he is the same prodigy who broke through to the spirit creation realm back in their residential zone. Finally, he admits it. Calmly, he confirms their suspicions, but then turns serious, questioning why only the two of them came to face a dark attribute anomaly. Such threats are no ordinary crisis, and yet they fought alone without their team. The red-haired woman explains that one teammate is gravely ill and unable to join missions anymore, while another has been assigned elsewhere. Their uncle also had a harder mission, so the group rarely fights together as a whole. The black-haired girl admits her miscalculation, saying she underestimated the anomaly, believing her current strength would be enough. The man listens quietly, recalling how his cousin used to complain about her teammates, but now defends them in front of outsiders. He recognizes her loyalty, noting she has always been clever, and he had sensed this side of her before. Turning serious, he tells them since they already know who he truly is, and because he trusts them both, he has a proposal to make. With a steady gaze, the man extends his hand and proposes that they form a team. But he warns them not to reveal this secret to anyone else. The red-haired woman lights up with excitement, eagerly agreeing and promising to keep quiet. She can't help but think how lucky she is to benefit from this arrangement. The black-haired girl looks at him softly, realizing he must have known from the beginning that she was a pioneer. Silently, he had been protecting her all along. For her, having such a reliable relative by her side on this dangerous path feels like an unexpected blessing. Yet, as relief mixes with gratitude, she bites her lip, a complicated emotion hidden behind her expression. Smiling brightly, the black-haired girl thanks her cousin and jokes that she'll fry him 2 extra eggs for dinner as gratitude. The group walks together, and she suddenly announces that Sister Jailan has just posted a new mission. On her phone, the details of the mission appear. It warns about an extreme darkness zone, an especially dangerous area tied to dark attribute anomalies, requiring utmost caution before entry. The cousin's eyes narrow as he asks if they understand what the extreme darkness zone really is. She explains it's a restricted border area of Xia Nation, where the dark attribute is so concentrated and strong that most pioneers avoid it entirely. A message appears, someone signing up for the mission and asking Sister Jailan for details about the gathering. The cousin suggests they should try it, asking if Jailan would reveal more about the mission. But the girls explain that she's always been mysterious and rarely says more than a few words. He frowns, thinking it through. For Jailan to arrange something this dangerous, she must hold an unusual status. Perhaps she's a rogue fighter with high-level skills, or someone tied to the military or the Spirit Kai Association. Again, the same message repeats Fong Heju, asking what exactly they are gathering, for though the answer remains hidden in mystery. A new message from Sister Jailan appears. The mission's target is revealed, to collect something called Withered Bloom. She warns that this task is far more dangerous than before, as the extreme darkness zone's energy is far stronger than anything they've faced. She urges everyone to team up before proceeding. The two girls stare at the message in surprise. They whisper that Jailan has never been this detailed before, leaving them unsettled. Elsewhere, Jailan walks through a corridor surrounded by armed escorts. Her expression remains calm as she remarks that the rest will depend on someone else. Meanwhile, the cousin studies the message carefully, raising an eyebrow. He smirks, saying the words, "strong and reliable pioneers" sound almost too direct. It's as if Jailan is calling them out personally, challenging them to accept the mission. The cousin smirks, his eyes sharp with confidence. He tells his companion that Jailan's message feels like a direct challenge, as if she's personally calling him out. Far away, dark mist coils above a desolate land, the air heavy with corruption. The ominous atmosphere radiates dread, marking it as no ordinary place. He stares into the distance, a dangerous gleam in his eyes. Instead of fear, excitement stirs within him. The so-called extreme darkness zone is exactly the kind of place he wants to explore, and he's eager to take the trip. The group walks through the corridor, their footsteps echoing. One of the assistants nervously mentions concerns about the team. The woman leading them holds a bouquet calmly and answers that if the man is truly a pioneer worthy of trust, he will definitely come. The assistant hesitates, voicing her worry that if he doesn't appear, the entire batch of pioneers will be affected. But the woman cuts her off firmly, saying that if he fails to show, it only proves his strength is still lacking. She then turns toward the window, her expression sharp, a faint smile forming. She asks if they really believe that collecting the elusive flower is easy. For weak pioneers, this dangerous task is nothing but a path leading straight to death. The assistants exchange uneasy glances, unsure how to respond. The woman continues, explaining that forcing someone into a life or death mission just to maintain appearances goes against the true purpose. Her words leave the others silent, realizing the weight behind her reasoning. A dark ground is littered with blood and debris, where pale flowers bloom. The narration explains that gathering these flowers is the only path to rebuilding national strength. Only by collecting them can more pioneers be nurtured. The scene shifts to ordinary people on a subway, representing the future pillars of the nation. The flowers are essential for ensuring the survival and growth of these new generations. The view changes to a hospital ward bathed in light. Whether it is the backbone of tomorrow or soldiers who return from battle scarred, the flowers provide the vital strength to endure life and death struggles. Beside a hospital bed, the woman grips a patient's hand tightly. Her voice is resolute no matter the cost. They must obtain more of the elusive flowers to secure survival. An elderly man lies on a hospital bed, covered in scars and connected to a respirator. He is introduced as the only pioneer of Xia who reached the diamond rank, surviving only because of the healing properties of the rare flower. A powerful explosion flashes across the scene, symbolizing the might of such warriors. The narration explains that diamond-level powerhouses are invaluable, both as a national defense and as the greatest bargaining chips in negotiations with other nations. One of the assistants speaks with concern, telling the woman that while the mission is important, her health is just as critical. The woman looks down, her expression cold and unreadable, repeating her assistant's words in doubt, "My health is important." The woman bursts out in anger, her eyes blazing. She declares that her life is indeed important because her team risked everything to bring her back alive. Her face shifts to shock as pain suddenly strikes, her body reacting with weakness. She steadies herself near the hospital bed. The assistants rush to her side in concern, apologizing for their words and asking if her illness is acting up again. Holding her head, she brushes it off with a faint smile, saying it's fine and not yet time for medicine. Memories of her old comrades flash in her mind, and she murmurs that it's all in the past now. On a battlefield littered with bodies, a soldier weakly calls for the execution squad to retreat immediately. Another wounded soldier urges the young woman to survive, saying their mission to collect the rare flower is now in her hands. For the sake of their teacher, their homeland, and everyone depending on them, they entrust the future to her. The young woman cries out in refusal, shouting that she will not leave and calling out to her captain. With tears and determination, she gathers the strength left behind by her fallen comrades. Lightning energy wraps around her as she vows to return alive, carrying their will with her. The woman explains coldly that the energy given to her is meaningless if the flower is tainted with blood or not harvested intact. Only a complete specimen holds true value. Time passes. Nearly 2 hours later, a new group makes its way across a barren landscape. One of them sighs, asking how many more kilometers they must walk. A red-haired woman points ahead, remarking that even pioneers are helpless until the spiritual energy fully integrates with the body. Without that, survival is impossible. From the shadows, a man with piercing red eyes watches silently, his gaze sharp and filled with intent. The group approaches a glowing blue barrier in the distance. One of them confirms that this is the edge of the restricted zone. The black-haired man narrows his eyes, noting that even with layers of defense, the corrupted aura seeps through, leaving an unsettling feeling. The red-haired woman trembles, saying the sinister energy here is far worse than the anomaly they encountered before, hundreds of times more terrifying. Her companion warns her to stay steady, as others are already arriving. Ahead, numerous pioneers gather, some standing armed while others wait near vehicles. Observing the scene, someone remarks with surprise that quite a number of pioneers have shown up. Two women discuss the threat of black attribute anomalies. They note that these creatures kill indiscriminately and show no mercy toward humans. A terrifying shadowy monster looms over a city rooftop, its red eyes glowing as lightning flashes in the sky. The narration explains that such black attribute anomalies have already appeared multiple times within the city. The black-haired man calmly agrees. The woman beside him recalls facing two of these terrifying anomalies head-on before. She describes one as a mutated rabbit, though calling it a rabbit is misleading. With its twisted form and razor fangs, it resembles more of a nightmarish rodent than anything else. A monstrous creature lunges forward, its twisted body tearing into its prey with savage force. The black-haired man explains that another anomaly emerged from abandoned factories, a massive snake. Unlike the rabbit, its intelligence surpassed expectations, able to cooperate in hunting down pioneers and wiping out entire squads. He adds that the situation has grown dire. The city's outer defenses, built to contain such threats, are now showing cracks as more anomalies appear. From above, shadowy beasts soar over a burning city. Flames engulf buildings while monstrous wings blot out the sky, marking the chaos that humanity can no longer easily control. The black-haired man leads his companions forward, stating firmly that they must head to the front lines. At the barrier's entrance, several figures gather, preparing for the mission. The atmosphere is tense as more pioneers arrive. Among them, a silver-haired girl with twin braids appears. Her calm gaze lingers as she notices the newcomers. Her eyes widen slightly in surprise. She recognizes the man approaching and mutters in disbelief, questioning why he is here and even more, why he has brought along two young girls. The silver-haired girl suddenly covers her mouth in shock as her companion calls out to her in confusion, asking what's wrong. Nervously sweating, she mutters to herself, praying that he won't notice her presence. But when the black-haired man glances her way, she forces a smile and awkwardly addresses him as Captain Sue. The group exchanges puzzled looks. One of them whispers in surprise, wondering if this eccentric girl could really be the assistant of the envoy. Flustered, the silver-haired girl waves her hands defensively, insisting that it's all just a huge misunderstanding. The black-haired man smiles faintly, introducing the silver-haired girl as his assistant. She quickly bows in agreement, though her nervous posture betrays her discomfort. From the side, a mocking voice laughs, calling them arrogant children who speak too boldly without realizing their place. At the barrier's entrance, a heavily armored commander steps forward with his men. He ridicules the pioneers, saying most are inexperienced and wouldn't last without the protection of stronger forces. The red-haired woman clenches her fists in anger, but is held back by her companion. She warns that their arrogance could lead to trouble, especially without knowing the true status of the people they're facing. The red-haired woman steps forward confidently, staring down the armored commander. Her tone is sharp, warning him not to underestimate them. The commander smirks, dismissing her words. He mocks her, saying that in the darkness of the restricted zone, it won't be long before people like her regret such arrogance. His expression shifts, eyes narrowing as he mutters under his breath, clearly annoyed by the confrontation. Suddenly, the roar of an engine cuts through the tension. A vehicle approaches the gathering, drawing everyone's attention as the situation grows heavier. The rumbling of an engine stops, and the vehicle door swings open. From inside, a tall woman in a white coat steps out, instantly drawing everyone's attention. Gasps ripple through the crowd as someone recognizes her identity. Shock spreads, this is none other than Sister Lan. She strides forward with confidence, her long coat flowing behind her. Witnesses confirm in awe that it truly is her, leaving the atmosphere heavy with respect. Whispers spread among the pioneers, marveling at her presence and wondering what her true identity might be. With such authority, she is clearly the one responsible for opening the path ahead. With a determined look, the woman stands before the massive glowing barrier, her eyes reflecting the surge of energy. She steps forward confidently, the blue light of the gate swirling like a storm, illuminating her figure. Raising her hand, she reveals a glowing key-shaped artifact, channeling her power into it. The artifact activates with a blinding flash. Energy cascades down like waterfalls of lightning, and the barrier begins to split open under her command. As the artifact's power reaches its peak, the barrier trembles violently, releasing a surge of blinding red and blue energy. The gate erupts with a thunderous roar, tearing open with overwhelming force. The sky itself seems to split under the pressure. The woman stands firm at the center of it all, her figure illuminated by the chaotic storm of light and energy. With the final burst, the great gate opens completely, marking the beginning of their dangerous mission beyond. The dark portal finally stabilizes, and the group is given permission to enter. The woman in charge stands before the ominous gate, reminding them of one crucial rule: the withered bloom they seek must be whole and free of any human blood. Her cold tone makes it clear there will be no excuses if they fail. The recruits gather nervously, some glancing at the swirling entrance with unease. One man mutters bitterly that they're being sent in to risk their lives without proper pay or protection. To him, it feels less like a mission and more like a death order, and the lack of compensation only fuels his frustration. Another man quickly silences him, warning that complaints are useless. If they die inside, the officials won't acknowledge it as their fault. Instead, they'll simply be reported as missing, leaving no trace of accountability. The grim reality hangs heavy in the air as the group slowly moves toward the gate. Nearby, two men exchange hushed words. One points out that if death truly awaited them, their families would mysteriously receive huge sums of money. To him, that payout is nothing more than an admission that the officials are sacrificing them on purpose. The armored man beside him stays silent, his stern expression confirming the bitter truth that everyone already suspects. As the group approaches the portal, the silver-haired girl quietly analyzes their surroundings. She points out a middle-aged man whose cultivation is equal to a spirit-forging realm, 1 star. Around him, several others remain silent, their strength difficult to gauge as they may be concealing their true aura. Beyond them, most participants are solid cultivators, ranging from 2-star to 3-star stages, making the teams fairly balanced in power. The black-haired man observes the gathering carefully. He realizes the mission's difficulty must be far greater than expected, given how many elite pioneer squads have been summoned. His attention lingers on one particular man whose aura feels strangely muted, leaving him unsure if the man's strength is truly as low as it appears. Meanwhile, the officials finish their head count. They confirm that the expedition into the extreme dark zone includes 2 2-star teams, 3 3-star teams, and 5 1-star teams. The anomalies inside are reported to vary from B class up to the dangerous S class. With preparations complete, the order is given to begin, and the monitoring teams are instructed to track everything closely. The scene shifts inside the portal, revealing a desolate wasteland. The land is barren, shrouded in heavy fog, with dead trees jutting from the cracked ground. The ominous silence sets the tone for the dangerous mission awaiting those who dared to enter. The team carefully steps deeper into the wasteland, surrounded by streams of ominous dark energy. The atmosphere is suffocating, and every sound seems amplified in the eerie silence. One member warns the others to stay close together, explaining that the dense darkness attribute in the area distorts vision. If they scatter, they'll quickly lose their sense of direction. Behind them, a girl suddenly collapses, gagging and clutching her stomach as the overwhelming stench makes her retch uncontrollably. The silver-haired girl kneels beside her, speaking in a calm voice. She explains that the nauseating odor comes from rotting corpses mixed with brain fluid, and reassures her that feeling sick is completely normal. Many others are experiencing the same reaction. She gestures toward the distance, where even cultivators at higher levels are visibly struggling, some doubling over and vomiting from the unbearable stench. The grim sight makes it clear that no one is immune to the horrors of the extreme dark zone. The silver-haired girl explains that the darkness attribute naturally restrains pioneers, acting like a form of pollution. Inside the extreme dark zone, the anomalies are especially active, making the environment even more dangerous. The black-haired man recalls the classifications of anomalies. B-class anomalies are roughly equal to X realm pioneers, and while dangerous, their damage is considered controllable. But higher threats exist. A-class anomalies require multiple pioneers of the same level to subdue, often appearing as monstrous beasts. S-class anomalies are on another level entirely, rivaling stars themselves and bringing destruction on a near cataclysmic scale. He notes that within the extreme dark zone, the darkness attribute provides these creatures with an additional boost, meaning an anomaly judged B-class elsewhere could easily be a class here. Hearing this, one of the girls admits it's her first time learning about such details. Another expresses understanding and checks if their captain is all right. But then, she nervously asks if the silver-haired girl has already been polluted by the darkness. The silver-haired girl reassures the others not to worry, saying her squad is used to handling cases with such foul stench. She reveals that Captain Su has already broken through to Axe Realm 3-star and has recently mutated his water attribute into an ice attribute, pushing himself even harder. One of the teammates notes that such rapid progression comes with risks, warning them to stay cautious around him. Still, they agree to prioritize the mission, urging the group to move quickly and stay close together to avoid distractions. The black-haired man halts the group, telling them they've reached the right spot. He orders everyone to conserve their strength and remain alert, warning them not to let the darkness exploit any weakness. Despite the oppressive environment, he reflects that his own body hasn't felt too affected since entering. His sun and lightning attributes seem to repel the darkness effectively. He considers another possibility that his recent advancement to Spirit Forging Realm may have strengthened his aura, allowing him to resist the corruption far better than before. A faint smile crosses his face as he quietly acknowledges the advantage. Elsewhere in the extreme dark zone, fierce battles erupt as teams clash with monstrous anomalies. A man slashes through a beast with ease, mocking that the so-called dangers of this place are nothing more than this. Rallying his comrades, another fighter shouts that they must seize the withered bloom and show the younger pioneers what true strength looks like. Together, they charge forward with confidence, blades gleaming in the darkness. Back with the main group, tension rises when one of the girls, Yi, coughs violently from the overwhelming atmosphere. Her companion immediately calls out her name in concern, steadying her as she struggles to breathe. The black-haired man glances back at them with a faint smile. Observing her fragile state, he quietly remarks that she's still just a child, hinting at her lack of readiness for the dangers ahead. The girl looks up in surprise as a gentle warmth spreads across her body. Her cousin places a hand near her, and the dark nausea that had been plaguing her fades almost instantly. A look of relief washes over her face as she realizes the corrosion and sickness have vanished, replaced by a comforting warmth like sunlight in winter. The others marvel at the effect, calling it the true power of the spirit-forging realm. She studies the energy carefully, noting how rare and advanced the attribute feels. Since breaking into Axe Realm 3-star, her senses for attributes have deepened, allowing her to recognize its uniqueness. She compares it with her own wood and grass attribute, which excels at absorbing aura, and even mentions how Captain Su's water mutating into ice was also a rare occurrence. The black-haired man corrects her softly, explaining that it isn't fire, but rather the sun attribute. With calm honesty, he admits it was his fault for not clarifying earlier. He is the very one who had displayed this power before during the fire incident at Kinhang University's Northern Gate and Stadium. The black-haired man explains that the anomalies they faced were unique, as sun and heavenly fire attributes differ slightly. His calm admission surprises the others, who realize he now possesses multiple rare high-tier attributes. He adds that he also has a desolation attribute, but prefers to keep some of his cards hidden. For now, it's best not to reveal everything, leaving the group stunned at how many rare powers he actually controls. One of the girls, still shivering from the cold, admits she hasn't reached Axe Realm 3-star yet and is slowly progressing along the metal path. Half joking but also sincere, she asks if he could use his sun attribute to warm her up as well, calling him her almighty cousin. Amused, he agrees casually, saying he'll warm her for a day. The girl yelps in shock as the sudden burst of warmth surges through her body, overwhelming her senses, while he remains composed and unfazed. Nearby, other members notice the warmth being shared and tease the pair for patting each other like that. Their playful remarks lighten the tense atmosphere, if only briefly. Encouraged, they suggest that Captain Su's squad should try it as well. With little hesitation, the group agrees, asking him directly for help. Amused, he casually raises his hand, releasing a steady wave of warmth that spreads through the cold air. One by one, the squad members feel the comforting energy wash over them. Their eyes widen in surprise, followed by joyful exclamations as the unbearable chill and nausea are driven away. But just as the mood lifts, the ground trembles. A massive claw slams down nearby, signaling the arrival of a powerful creature lurking in the darkness. The atmosphere instantly shifts back to dread. The black-haired man suddenly senses danger. His sharp eyes narrow as he warns the group that an anomaly is rapidly approaching. The ground splits open, and a violent surge of energy bursts forth. The squad braces themselves as one of the girls leaps forward with her weapon, trying to cut through the distortion. From the smoke, a massive beast with glowing red eyes emerges, charging straight toward them. Someone shouts in alarm, telling the others to watch out as the monstrous figure barrels forward. The creature reveals its terrifying form, cloaked in purple flames and radiating overwhelming power. A warning is shouted, it's an A-class anomaly. The beast roars ferociously, shaking the battlefield as the squad prepares for a deadly clash. The silver-haired girl steps forward, her eyes sharp with determination. Blue energy surges from her hands as she declares she'll handle the threat herself. With a powerful strike, she unleashes a burst of energy that pierces through the massive anomaly, its roar drowned by the crackling force of her attack. Catching her breath, she frowns in frustration, noting that the difficulty of this battle is far greater than expected. As she steadies herself, one of her teammates notices something unsettling. The creature seems to have vanished into thin air. But before they can process it, the black-haired man turns, his crimson eyes narrowing. Behind him, a horde of eerie figures with glowing red eyes emerges from the fog, advancing silently yet menacingly toward the group. The group finds themselves surrounded as countless red-eyed creatures close in from every direction. Their glowing eyes pierce the darkness, and the squad braces for an overwhelming assault. The black-haired man steps forward calmly, his voice firm as he tells the others to move aside. Golden light begins to flicker around him, pushing back the encroaching shadows. His eyes ignite with blazing energy, streaks of fiery power radiating outward as his aura surges to a new peak. The sheer intensity of his presence makes the ground tremble. In the next instant, a massive eruption of flames bursts forth, engulfing the horde of monsters in a devastating inferno. The enemies are consumed in a torrent of fire, leaving no doubt about the overwhelming might of his sun attribute. The battlefield is engulfed in blazing flames as the black-haired man unleashes his full power. The horde of anomalies screams in agony, their bodies burning away under the overwhelming force of his sun attribute. As the flames die down, he calmly announces that this wave of anomalies has already dissipated. He warns his companions not to be deceived by the countless glowing eyes they saw earlier. There were only two true enemies. The silver-haired girl looks at him in surprise, remarking that she hadn't expected anomalies here to evolve to the point of mimicking human speech. He replies with quiet certainty that perhaps, after consuming so many people, they had learned it. The narration notes the sheer scale of his strength within a single strike. 2 A-class phantom beasts had been completely annihilated. The purple flames in his hand flicker ominously against the backdrop of the burning wasteland, a clear reminder of the unmatched power he now commands. A masked woman watches the battlefield, acknowledging the strength of the anomalies. Even for her, she admits it would take several rounds of combat to bring them down. Meanwhile, the group regathers. The silver-haired girl warns that anomalies might disguise themselves and infiltrate their ranks, urging everyone to stay alert. The others nod cautiously, realizing the danger of lowering their guard in this place. Nearby, one of the girls struggles to recover from the overwhelming aura. She clutches her chest, thinking to herself that the suffocating pressure from these anomalies is far more terrifying than zombies. Even breathing near them feels like it could burn her alive. As she tries to steady herself, the black-haired man orders her to get up. Before she can respond, a sudden sound echoes through the cavern, drawing his sharp gaze toward the source of the disturbance. As the group pauses, the black-haired man's expression sharpens. One of the girls suddenly remarks that it sounds like ocean waves can be heard ahead, a sound that feels out of place in the desolate wasteland. The uneasy calm breaks in an instant. A strange noise erupts, catching everyone off guard. The squad tenses as they realize something is rapidly approaching from the shadows. Footsteps echo across the ground, heavy and deliberate, sending chills through the group as the sound grows louder with each step. Elsewhere, another squad is locked in battle. Panic overtakes them as one of the fighters yells for the others to stop fighting and run. Whatever they're facing, he shouts, is far too sinister to handle head-on. The black-haired man's sharp senses catch something unusual. One of the girls suddenly stiffens and points out that the sound of waves can be heard ahead. But in this barren wasteland, such a thing is impossible. Before they can react, a chilling scream echoes from another squad. Panic spreads as fighters shout in terror, realizing what they are facing. darkness erupts violently, and countless shadowy figures surge forward, their presence overwhelming like a tidal wave. The ground shakes as the soldiers struggle to hold their ground. The terrified survivors cry out in despair, identifying the threat. It's the Dark Tide, a calamity so fearsome that even legendary armies once suffered devastating losses against it. A terrifying red tide surges across the battlefield, swallowing everything in its path. Soldiers are dragged helplessly into the darkness, their cries for help echoing as fear spreads. One man trembles, realizing that if the regular army was crushed by this force, then his chances of surviving are slim as well. Amid the chaos, a warrior steps forward with determination. Holding a glowing green sword, he summons his strength and surrounds himself with a radiant barrier of light. With arrogance, he shouts that everything here belongs to him, unwilling to yield to the dark tide. The clash between the two forces shakes the air. His green aura holds strong for a moment, but the overwhelming red tide towers above, pressing against him like an unstoppable wave. The battlefield trembles, showing the vast difference in power. The warrior's confidence begins to falter. His expression shifts as he senses something abnormal. Gritting his teeth, he admits to himself that the anomalies here are far stronger and stranger than he imagined, and his power alone might not be enough to withstand them. A man struggles within the Crimson Tide, his body being consumed as despair fills his eyes. He realizes these creatures aren't just a rank, or even S rank, they are far beyond that. Fear grips him as he repeats to himself that he cannot be caught, but the darkness continues to pull him in. Nearby, more soldiers are dragged into the abyss, their screams echoing as they desperately reach for help. The overwhelming force shows no mercy, devouring anyone who gets close. From a distance, survivors watch in horror. The suffocating darkness spreads endlessly, raising the question of whether there's any hope of escape. Someone asks their leader, Captain Su, about the true nature of this phenomenon. Captain Su explains that the Dark Tide is the pinnacle of dark attribute power, a corrosive force that devours everything, leaving nothing behind. His companions panic, realizing their plan should have kept them safe, yet the forces ahead were wiped out without a trace. As the group witnesses the overwhelming dark tide, one of them recalls reading about its destructive power, said to be strong enough to erase an entire city-state. Another worries if retreat is still an option, questioning if survival is even possible at this point. A golden barrier of spirit energy forms around them, offering temporary protection. Their leader instructs them to remain calm, explaining that this shield restrains dark energy. If necessary, they must combine their strength to reinforce it and buy enough time to withstand the surge. Despite the barrier, doubt spreads among them. A blonde woman warns that the dark tide is condensed dark attribute itself, a force far beyond what they can resist. She recalls how even a powerful elder at the spirit-shaping realm was swallowed whole without resistance. Amid the fear, the black-haired young man steps forward. Flames and lightning swirl around him as he readies his power. He declares boldly that even if the dark tide is condensed, he will destroy it with his own strength. The group watches in shock as the black-haired young man unleashes his power, flames and lightning bursting forward like a blazing spear. Someone exclaims in disbelief, wondering if he truly intends to destroy the dark tide itself. The fiery strike pierces through the suffocating darkness, cutting a path into the overwhelming tide. The impact shakes the battlefield, its force echoing across the red abyss. Surrounded by a radiant aura, the young man charges headfirst into the swirling core of the tide. His determination burns brighter than the storm around him, refusing to yield against the overwhelming force. In the shadows, another figure watches closely, a smirk forming as he mutters to himself. Everything seems to be unfolding exactly as he predicted. The young man finds himself surrounded by grotesque, red-eyed monsters born from the dark tide. He observes that these aren't simple rank creatures, but abominations fused and evolved under dark energy's control, forming powerful composites. their presence grows even more overwhelming, spanning from B rank to S rank and beyond. The overall strength of these anomalies is far greater than expected, each one radiating dangerous intent as they close in. Without hesitation, he unleashes a surge of blue energy. The force bursts outward like a shockwave, tearing through the incoming monstrosities. His sword cuts through the swarm, striking directly at the towering creatures. The light from his attack pierces their dark forms, momentarily holding back the tide of horrors pressing down on him. A monstrous anomaly with glowing red eyes lunges toward the black-haired young man, its presence radiating killing intent. Without hesitation, he counters with a blazing strike of fire, slicing through the creature in an instant. Normally, such a powerful attack would only injure an A-rank anomaly, but within the Dark Tide, even these terrifying beasts can be destroyed outright. He steadies himself, eyes sharp, observing the battlefield as if waiting for something more. His gaze locks onto a figure cloaked in flames of corruption. Recognition flashes across his face. It's someone from earlier, now twisted by the Dark Tide. He coldly asks if that person is still alive inside, testing whether any humanity remains. The corrupted man writhes in agony, his body nearly overtaken by the dark energy. Yet traces of spirit energy still flicker within him, showing that he hasn't been fully consumed. The young fighter notes that while this man's foundation in the spirit-shaping realm isn't as firm, he is still a genuine cultivator, meaning there's a sliver of hope left. With determination, the young man raises his hand, summoning overwhelming power. Lightning surges around him as he prepares to unleash a decisive technique. He roars his attack Divine Thunder, 100 refinements, as a colossal bolt of energy tears downward, shaking the entire battlefield with its force. The attack lands with devastating impact, blasting through the corruption. The once twisted man crashes to the ground, heavily injured but no longer fully consumed by darkness. Standing over the fallen man, the black-haired fighter notes that he can still be saved, though only barely. Flames flicker along his blade, casting light on the wounded cultivator. Darkness stirs again, surging from the corrupted surroundings as he remains vigilant, his fiery sword held ready. A massive figure of corruption rises before him, regenerating without end. He clicks his tongue in irritation, realizing this must be the unique trait of anomalies beyond his rank. Instead of despairing, a confident smile spreads across his face. He decides to test another method, channeling spirit-based power to counter the infinite regeneration. The black-haired fighter releases a surge of energy, golden light clashing against the looming wave of dark anomalies. The battlefield shakes as the two forces collide. Blue lightning crackles in his hand as he examines the situation. Even at the spirit-shaping realm, he realizes he cannot extract dark energy directly. He mutters that, as expected, the dark attribute is far more unusual than any other. A faint smile forms on his face, showing neither panic nor hesitation. Instead, he appears intrigued by the challenge. Surrounded by the howling tide of monstrous abominations, he steadies himself. If he can't erase the darkness completely or absorb it outright, he resolves to find another way forward. Surrounded by monstrous anomalies, the young fighter regrets not having his companion, the little white flower. With its desolation power, he could have fought the darkness on equal footing. Instead, he wonders what else he can rely on. His fiery aura burns brighter as realization dawns. He remembers that the answer has been right in front of him all along. Elsewhere, his allies watch anxiously from within their protective barrier. One of them asks Captain Su if he has ever seen anything like this before. Su admits his knowledge is limited and that he has never witnessed such a phenomenon. Their attention shifts as they notice something shocking. The overwhelming dark tide, which had been raging uncontrollably, suddenly freezes still in place. Inside the protective barrier, the girls watch anxiously. One of them feels uneasy, admitting that not even when facing ghost vines had she felt such dread. She worries about her cousin, who has been inside the tide for too long, fearing something might happen to him. Another girl reassures her, noting that his barrier is still intact, only flickering slightly. She suggests reinforcing it with their spirit power, adding that if someone like him were to fall, the rest of them would be dragged down regardless. With confidence, the blonde girl explains that he is a spirit-shaping realm cultivator wielding multiple insane attributes. His strength could rival a 3-star spirit-shaping expert, making him far beyond what they in the Ghost Axe realm could ever step in to save. Her remark lightens the tension as laughter breaks out. One girl jokes about Captain Sue's humor, while another adds that her teammates often say the same, asking if she's feeling better now. A blazing torrent of fire erupts across the battlefield, illuminating the darkness as the ground trembles under its power. The black-haired fighter unleashes one of his ultimate techniques, 9-Dragon Heavenly Flame Seal. The flames twist and roar like living dragons, filling the sky with overwhelming might. Engulfed in golden fire and blue lightning, he rises above the chaos, commanding the dragons with a single word, "Rise." His aura surges, defying the dark tide's crushing force. From within the protective barrier, his allies stare in awe. One shouts in excitement that it's her cousin, while another recognizes the devastating move, whispering in disbelief about the technique he just used. The battlefield erupts as blazing dragons soar through the sky, their flames coiling with unstoppable force. The sheer might of the 9-Dragon Heavenly Flame Seal leaves everyone stunned, with one ally whispering in awe that it's far too powerful. From a distance, a woman observes closely, recognizing the true nature of the technique. She mutters in disbelief, realizing it's a heavenly flame capable of sealing power itself. Her eyes widen as the flames compress into a glowing sphere. Shocked, she questions if he truly managed to seal the dark tide, something thought to be impossible. Meanwhile, the black-haired fighter lands with determination, his body crackling with lightning. He channels even more energy, preparing for what comes next as the battle is far from over. The young fighter raises his arms as flames and lightning merge together, forming a massive sphere of fiery energy. Its sheer size radiates destructive power, shaking the ground beneath him. With a thunderous roar, he declares the technique 9-Dragon Edict, channeling every ounce of strength into the blazing sphere. The energy surges skyward, coiling into a fiery dragon before crashing down with overwhelming force. The explosion rips through the battlefield, leaving shockwaves in its wake. Steadying himself, he directs the massive torrent of fire forward, unleashing the full might of his technique. The storm of flames and lightning engulfs everything in its path, pressing toward the dark tide with unstoppable momentum. The massive sphere of fire and lightning spins violently, its energy spiraling outward as if ready to consume everything in its path. The 9-Dragon Edict grows denser, radiating unstoppable force. With a thunderous impact, the blazing sphere compresses into a brilliant core of destruction. The ground shakes under its immense pressure, signaling the devastating strike that is about to unfold. The group finally manages to catch a break after the fierce battle. Amidst the chaos, they discover a badly injured soldier who is still breathing. Concern rises as they wonder what should be done with him. Relieved, a girl rushes forward, overjoyed to see her cousin unharmed. She quickly takes charge of the wounded soldier, asking the leader to leave him to her squad's care. The black-haired man remains calm and observes quietly. One of the companions reminds him that sealing a high-level dark attribute is no small feat and questions why he doesn't seem pleased. Instead of celebrating, he stays silent. They recall his earlier words about wiping out the dark tide, realizing now that he truly did it, and the sight leaves them speechless. Breaking the silence, the black-haired man explains that the seal is only temporary, and the overwhelming dark energy won't last contained for long. Urging the group to move quickly, he stresses the need to find the lost tempering flower before the seal fades. Meanwhile, his allies agree to transport the injured man back to the Spirit Association for treatment. As the group moves forward, they realize the grim reality aside from the single survivor. No one else made it out alive. The dark attribute had consumed everything, leaving behind neither bodies nor traces, regardless of cultivation level. One of them laments how the people who were alive just moments ago are now completely gone, admitting relief that they didn't witness their deaths directly. The black-haired man quickly takes charge, instructing Yeyi and the others to move ahead with Captain Su while he stays behind to guard the rear. The group complies and continues onward, carrying the injured survivor. Now standing alone at the edge of the black pool, he faces the lingering danger. The system registers a surge of dark attribute energy once again, signaling the threat isn't over. He raises his hand, releasing his power as dark energy bursts into the air. The detection process completes, confirming the overwhelming fluctuation of the dark attribute. The system activates once more, initiating an ultimate computational process. Streams of dark energy surge upward as the black-haired man floats in the center, absorbing its power. With his eyes closed, he remains calm as the swirling darkness engulfs him. The process continues to intensify, binding itself to his very core. Moments later, the system confirms the result compilation successful. His eyes snap open, glowing with a fierce violet light, radiating immense power. A new notification appears, revealing that he has acquired a dark attribute technique called Boundless Dark Realm. This ability creates a sealed misty space where spiritual energy is eroded, drastically weakening opponents. He examines the power in his hand, realizing it is a unique and devastating domain. The black-haired man reflects on his new ability, realizing that if he uses the Boundless Dark Realm in battle, its corrosive effect can drain opponents' spiritual power and cut off their energy. Combined with his other techniques, the effect would become even more devastating, allowing him to crush even anomalies stronger than the Dark Tide. Meanwhile, his ally senses something unusual and warns him that the black mist seems to be reforming around them. Her eyes widen in shock as she notices the sudden shift in spiritual energy. The man's power surges violently once again, triggering another breakthrough. His companion is stunned, unable to understand how such a fluctuation could happen without any major trigger. The silver-haired girl is stunned, realizing that he actually absorbed the Dark Tide's power and energy officially rated as level with no upper limit. To her, it seems completely absurd. She recalls how, during the early warning period of mystical resurgence, the dark attribute was considered the most terrifying threat of all. It could wipe out entire regions, which is why absorbing it was strictly forbidden by the authorities. Officials had once tried to purify and refine the dark attribute, but the results were disastrous. The consequences were so severe that dark attribute anomalies had to be classified separately from all others. These anomalies ranged from D to S level, yet even a lower class 1 could easily torment someone just entering the ghost catching stage. The Dark Tide itself was in a league of its own, considered a highest class anomaly, far beyond what ordinary exorcists could handle. Back when dark attributes hadn't yet been banned, some pioneers attempted to absorb them. But even at the ghost catching stage, one man was driven insane after trying to take in a mere D-class dark anomaly. He lost everything: his mind, his family, and remains in an asylum to this day. Now, the black-haired man exhales slowly, his hands still carrying traces of the power he just absorbed. He suddenly calls out to the shadows, telling the hidden figure to reveal themselves since they've been watching for quite some time. A mysterious woman steps forward, recognizing him. She addresses him directly, identifying him as Fang Yi, the one who sealed the Dark Tide. The mysterious woman steps forward, revealing herself as Galan. She confronts Fang Yi, questioning him directly about absorbing dark attributes. Without hesitation, Fang Yi calmly admits it, leaving his allies shocked that he acknowledged it so openly. In response, Galan swiftly draws her weapon, her movements sharp and precise. She points a gun at Fang Yi, her stance filled with hostility, making it clear that she views him as a dangerous threat. The others are shocked as Galan points her weapon at Fang Yi. They demand to know why she's acting this way. Galen is reminded that Fang Ye is the top target her military wants to recruit. The Spirit Association had also tried to bring him in first, but she cut them off, raising suspicion about her true motives. Fang Yi calmly remarks that their mission was supposed to be about finding the lost tempering flower, not turning on each other. He points out how strange it is that Galen seems more upset about their survival than the mission's success. Galen falls silent, her cold gaze fixed on Fang Yi as the tension between them escalates, the gun still aimed at him. The group questions Galen, frustrated that she stayed hidden during the battle only to confront Fang Yi afterward. They remind her that without him, they would have all been wiped out. Galen smirks, commenting on how much his teammates trust him, before suddenly congratulating him and saying he has passed. Confused, the others demand to know what she means by passed. Fang Yi narrows his eyes, realizing her intentions. He calmly asks if she came here just to test him. Galen admits she wanted to see Fang Yi's true character for herself, not just rely on reports of his power and talent. She then answers why she didn't step in earlier. Pioneers are bound by the rules of the spiritual resurgence world, meaning she couldn't interfere directly. She explains that pioneers all share the same fate. Life or death can shift in an instant. Still, they are fortunate because someone trustworthy and strong stood up to protect them. Finally, she points out something they hadn't realized: none of the enemies had attacked them since the battle ended. It was because Fang Yi's act of sealing the dark tide left them too intimidated to make a move. Fang Yi reflects that the dark tide itself is like a predator bullying the weak but cowering before the strong. Galen steps forward, offering to guide them to the lost tempering flower, claiming she knows the terrain better than they do. Watching her, Fang Yi's ally quietly remarks that Galen seems somewhat unstable. Fang Yi recalls that her squad once encountered the dark tide before, and she was the only survivor. Because of her strict adherence to rules and the trauma of her past losses, Galen has developed a destructive mindset. Yet, something still drives her forward, and witnessing Fang Yi seal the dark tide seems to have pushed her to the very edge. Fang Yi tells his companions to let it go and give Galen some slack. The group realizes she's injured. They note that although her cultivation is at the soul creation stage with 2 stars, her spiritual barrier has weakened and dropped by at least 2 levels. The blue glow surrounding her body reveals just how badly hurt she truly is. Despite her condition, she continues moving forward, her steps unsteady but determined. Galen quietly thanks them but insists her injury doesn't matter. The narration shifts to describe the ominous surroundings and extreme dark zone known as the Abyss Graveyard. The group continues onward together, carrying the wounded while pressing deeper into the dangerous area. Fang Yi suddenly reacts, his sharp eyes catching something unusual ahead, his expression turning tense. Fang Yi halts at the grim sight of bones scattered across the ground, realizing the danger of the place they've entered. Galen confirms they've arrived at the mass graveyard, the heart of the dark zone. Amidst the eerie landscape, they spot their objective, the radiant lost tempering flower glowing in the distance. The group remains silent, tension hanging in the air as they prepare for what comes next. The group approaches the lost tempering flower, but shadowy figures rise from the ground, surrounding it ominously. Galen stares at the flower, muttering that she has finally found it again, her expression filled with obsession. Fang Yi immediately senses something is wrong. A burst of fiery energy erupts as one of his companions shouts at Galen to snap out of it, trying to pull her back to her senses. A blazing fireball descends rapidly, aimed directly at Galen. She raises her hand in shock, realizing the sudden threat closing in on her. A massive explosion erupts, shocking the woman. She realizes the man's power carries the extremely rare Yang attribute. Without hesitation, she leaps forward and strikes with full force, the impact shattering the ground. The man stands unfazed, calmly raising his hand while she glares at him in silence. Frustrated, she questions herself, wondering if all her preparations were still not enough. The others rush to Galrin, worried about her condition. They warn her that the dark attribute has already taken hold of her. The man calmly states that when it comes to the lost bloom, he alone is enough. He turns and walks forward, carrying his sword with steady steps. Stopping ahead, he comes face to face with the glowing lost bloom. The man stands calmly with his sword drawn as the ground begins to crack. A monstrous creature with glowing red eyes bursts forward, charging straight at him. The beast roars with its mouth wide open, filled with crimson energy. Unfazed, the man raises his hand, summoning blue energy as he declares his technique Divine Lightning. The man strikes the beast with divine lightning, electricity surging through its massive body. The monster roars in pain but still refuses to fall. He realizes just how many anomalies these dungeons continue to produce. Knowing time is short, he decides to end it quickly. With a cold gaze, he prepares another technique. Unleashing a surge of purple energy, he activates his move Limitless Dark Domain, engulfing the monster in darkness. The limitless dark domain engulfs the monster, trapping it in a sphere of swirling purple energy. The beast writhes violently inside, its body overwhelmed by the crushing darkness. It lets out a distorted cry, struggling as the power tears through it. The narration reveals that the S-rank half-corrupted fox demon has been reduced to B rank. The man notes that it dropped 2 whole ranks, proving its so-called cultivation wasn't that strong after all. The man grips his blazing sword, flames igniting with fierce power. He swings down with a fiery slash, declaring that it's over as the explosion lights up the battlefield. Watching from a distance, the others notice a black energy forming. They wonder if it's the dark attribute but feel that it carries a different aura. They realize the truth, it's Fang Yi's domain. He had mastered the dark attribute and created a domain entirely on his own, without a teacher. One of the women explains that creating a domain with spiritual power is an incredible feat, something only their master could once accomplish. She recalls how their master once unfolded his domain to suppress a calamity threatening the capital, but the result was devastating. As Fang Yi's domain shifts, the others watch in awe, shocked at how quickly it is moving. With a calm smile, Fang Yi waves his hand and remarks that this should be the last of the trouble within the mass grave. The man approaches the glowing flower, its soft light standing out in the desolate land. He carefully reaches down and lifts the flower with both hands. Looking at it closely, he confirms that this must be the one he was searching for. From a distance, the woman watches in silence, her expression tense as she takes in the sight. The group confirms the mission is complete after obtaining the lost bloom, though they note how small it is. They warn that the dark tide could erupt at any moment, so they must withdraw immediately. Meanwhile, others point out they also have an unexpected tag along with them. Holding the flower, the leader thanks Fang Yi, saying the mission would have been impossible without him. She also expresses gratitude to everyone as they prepare to leave. As the group walks away, Galrin quietly tells Fang Yi that she is truly grateful. Galrin explains that Elder Wu from the King Kong realm is in critical condition, and the lost bloom is the only medicine that can save him. She tells Fang Yi that he has saved his life. Fang Yi stays silent, his sharp eyes reflecting the weight of her words. The group finally reaches daylight, relieved to have made it out alive. Outside, others cheer when they hear the lost bloom was successfully retrieved, praising the team for accomplishing the impossible. The group emerges from the dungeon to find a massive crowd waiting. People murmur in excitement, asking who actually found the lost bloom. A girl reacts in surprise as she spots something unusual. They notice a vehicle from the Star God War Zone, the elite fighting force of the Xia Nation, arriving on the scene. The narration explains that the Star God War Zone is ranked number 1 among the 10 great war zones. With abundant resources and powerful cultivation grounds, they became the nation's most celebrated elite force. the lost bloom is carefully placed into a secure container for transport. A military officer accepts it with a calm expression. Soldiers stand in formation, saluting Fang Yi with respect. The officer assures Gaoren that the lost bloom will be delivered to the hospital immediately. She nods, saying she will head over shortly. A large vehicle from the Star God War Zone departs as Fang Yi questions Gaoren about her affiliation. She admits that his strength and performance have likely already spread through their war zone. Fang Yi is told that his power alone could easily overwhelm even their most elite squad. Gaoren offers him cultivation resources and doubled bounty rewards if he joins, but Fang Yi politely declines, saying he has his own way of cultivating. Gaoren warns Fang Yi about the rising danger of dark attribute anomalies, explaining that their numbers are rapidly increasing and becoming harder to control. She adds that their influence spreads like a tumor and could cause catastrophe at any moment, which is why the association strictly guards forbidden zones. She clarifies she isn't trying to pressure him, but believes someone as capable as him has the right to understand the situation. Fang Yi responds with a calm smile, assuring her that if he encounters another anomaly, he won't stand by idly, even if strangers are involved. Gaoren looks at Fang Yi with a gentle smile, expressing her gratitude. She tells him it has been a pleasure meeting him and offers him a token. With the token in hand, she explains that it grants him access to freely enter any forbidden zone for cultivation. She adds one more invitation, asking Fang Yi if he would like to go and meet Elder Wu,